Gather around, freaks. We turn the page again on this big book of bonds, and it looks like a slimy page has appeared. It seems to glitch in and out and says, "The Grimoire of Familiar Killers." Uh-oh, spooky. So gather around the internet radio and gather around the internet campfire, because it's time once again for Hey, did you see this one?
Hello, 007. You're about to embark on a high-stakes mission that could shake the foundations of pulp culture. Your objective, dive into a certain franchise with a sharp, action-packed analysis. Infiltrate the world of espionage and glitz, dissecting the cunning of your foes, the allure of your vehicles, and your iconic gadgets. Prepare to tackle sensitive topics that could spark heated debates. Everything from the ethics of MI6 to the subtext in Goldfinger. This mission captures the essence of danger and allure. Your findings may attract the attention from rival podcasters and covert organizations. Harness your charisma, stay cool under pressure, and create a podcast that leaves the listeners breathless. Good luck, 007, because this month, Hey, Did You See This One invites you to the Big Book of British Bonds.
Hello,
007.
and welcome to Hey, Did You See This One, the weekly review, reaction, roundtable discussion podcast where we just have to ask the question, hey, did you see this one? On the show, we take a film. We take a very small, short film, and then we pull it apart and talk about it for way too long.
Or this week, we talk about a movie that has a 25-minute boat chase sequence that could have been 5 minutes.
That sequence is insane.
They do the same visual gag twice. I'm like, did they need to land the boat in a wedding as well?
The movie was 2 hours long. They could have made it an hour and a half and cut out half of that boat sequence.
I agree.
But this is episode 172, season 3, episode 23 for Playing at Home. The Big Book of British Bonds is open. In the intro, I mentioned the Grimoire of Familiar Killers, which is another monthly thing we do. I thought I'd mention that since we do have the spookiest James Bond villain in this one, Baron Samedi. Chucky here. And I thought it'd be fun to reference that as well, because this is an interesting sort of crossover for that. We do have a returning guest. So Daisy Cutter, aka Noel K, messaged me when they saw that.
I wish I knew that was going to happen. I would have been prepared.
When they saw that we were doing James Bond, I got a tongue lashing about it. Why didn't you invite me on? I'm a genius. I'm an expert at James Bond. I took it in university or something. So you
wrote the Big Book of British Bonds.
I did, actually.
So welcome back to the show, Noel. Usually we give our guests a round of applause, and there we go. Hey, there's the studio audience. And so this month is also a crossover with the United Federation of Podcasts, a little podcast community network that Steve and I here on Hey Did You See This One are card-carrying members of.
Yeah.
We had Davin Skellhorn, the grandpappy of the network, Dave Mader last week as well. This week, we have a new guest to the show and from the United Federation of Podcasts, the host of Graphic Histories and professional wrestler Old School, Andre Mayette.
Hey. Cool.
Three people here. Three people here are current ex professional wrestlers. So we outnumber Steve tonight.
That's fine. You
great.
guys gonna beat me up? Jeez.
Yeah.
It might come to that, you know.
Yeah.
See how heated the debate gets.
Put you in a Russian leg sweep. Nope, that's not how
Choke
that works.
slam me.
You don't put him in one of those, but you could do it.
Yeah, just give it to him.
Yeah.
Side Russian.
I feel like
leg
there
sweep.
was a wrestler that like fits the particular brand of racism that we're going to be discussing today.
There 100% is. His name was
All right.
Papa
Yeah.
Shango.
Yes, and that's why I didn't plan this.
I'm
It's
sure he
interesting.
took inspiration from this movie. He must have.
I think
Weird that-
I think Vince McMahon's favorite movie was Live and Let Die for like a week, and he was like, make them burn somebody, and they're like, we can't use that name, and he's like, well, make them.
The thing is that they
Papa
absolutely
Shango.
could have used that name because it's it's a lore name. It's not like
Yeah.
it's like mythology. It's like using the name Thor. You could,
But it's also
you could get
one they
away with
couldn't
it.
trademark, which is what they do. So
Yeah.
they'd have to be able to
Ah.
trademark it for licensing reasons, so they wouldn't use something that's like public domain.
That makes sense.
Yes, and considering how this movie is not aged well and problematic it is, I think it probably would be Vince McMahon's favorite movie. Probably today. It's probably his favorite movie today, not even back then.
He just watches this on repeat in his.
Yeah, our power comes from her
Hondo.
virginity. Yeah.
She's underage in my mind. Nope. Okay, I'm sorry.
Jesus, Jason.
I'm sorry. I said. So okay. Well, I've introduced the guest. Noel, I'm gonna have you do a quick synopsis. I set you up for this. I've warned the guests about our things that we do for once. But is Zardos around? Zardos has to ask a question first. Zardos.
Zardoz speaks to you. He demands you synopsize this film. Tell him how, why, who, what occurs in this film.
The special effects on this show are unparalleled. We lost Andre, but he's back.
Sorry.
Zardos.
I was trying to change my background to the image of him running across the crocodiles, and I didn't realize it would kick me out of the. I noticed you all had the images, so I was like, "Oh, I got to do this too," but then it kicked me out of the thing. So I can't.
That's
I
okay.
thought you got so scared of Zardos. You're like, I can't. This is too scary.
This is too much.
The penis is bad. The gun is good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Show me
Oh,
what you
boy.
got.
It's a unique situation where we show Zed and he doesn't sit on anybody's face. So okay,
It's unfortunate.
that's right. So Noel, why don't you give us a brief synopsis in one paragraph or less about what this movie is about?
Was it school?
Yeah.
So-
One paragraph or less.
500 words or less, please.
If I don't give you that parameter, you're like, I don't know. You just anyway. We've been through this. Go watch your old episodes with Noel.
Hey, so so I'd like to start by going over Paul Verhoeven's filmography for 20 minutes.
Oh, perfect. Excellent. Totally,
okay.
totally relevant.
So the movie starts. We have three agents who are killed. We meet James Bond. He figures out that there's this island of voodoo where they have poppies and they want to sell heroin and make everyone addicts. And then he sleeps with 2 or 3 people, escapes some crocodiles, and the plot never shows up. But our bad guy explodes. That is
Yeah.
You know,
I
this
think-
is like half of an old school good Bond movie, and then right around the middle it becomes an insane, like, because Roger Moore's Bond movies go really goofy, and you almost see it happen right in the middle of this movie. It's like this, it's like where they hit the switch, and they're like right around the time the guy blew up. Was there like,
That's what it got goofy.
No. That's when it like reached the crescendo.
Yeah.
The part where the guy was like in the mask and all that was kind of where it was getting close to that. But
I feel like the exact moment it got goofy is when dude uses his robot hand to punch a hole in a giant drum full of raw chicken. I'm like, okay, this is getting a little weird.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of goofy stuff that's kind of standard Bond, but goes even further. Although I did think the beginning when it shows all the agents getting killed was really funny. Like when the guy's watching the big funeral procession, and he's like, "Who died?"
Whose
He's like,
funeral?
"Who did?" And, he just
And then
and they have a magic coffin that they just set on top of him, and it puts him in it. Like,
Yeah.
I find that this movie kind of resists synopsis because it feels like sketches loosely put together.
Yeah.
kind of. I thought the bad guy was like, he was good as an actor. It wasn't like a great role, but he was.
It's fine. It's just got a lot of B plots and C plots.
Yeah, it's a lot going on.
Sheriff becomes, and so like that's not relevant to the story at all.
No.
It's just.
I was baffled because this cop character shows up in other Bond movies too. This is the only one.
Felix Leiter.
No, not Felix Leiter.
No, not Felix Leiter.
Talking about Pepper.
BW?
Oh, really? He shows up in other ones,
Pigwater
too?
or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Sheriff Pigwater.
Yeah, he got a lot of screen time for a guy that had no relevance to anything.
Yeah, I think the more relevant part than the synopsis in a James Bond film is that this is Roger Moore's first go at being Bond,
it is,
coming from Sean Connery, having carried the mantle.
And
So-
And George Lazenby for one movie.
Yeah. As a kid, like I didn't really watch these movies in any particular order because they like 20 of them already existed before I was born. So I just kind of watched them at whatever pace because a lot of them don't really have a through plot line that you need to follow. And watching this one as his first, it doesn't feel like it's his first. It feels like it's like relying on previous movies for us to already know who he is. But they don't give you like a moment to really settle into Roger Moore as a Bond. There's like 20 minutes before he starts doing Bond stuff and showing his sort of perspective on the character.
No, he like boinks the lady. That's Bond. Like he slept with the.
I'm aware of
the
who
Italian
James
lady.
Bond is.
Italian lady. Okay.
Talking about Roger Moore as James Bond. We did
Oh, he
what was
goes
it?
the whole movie without being Roger
without
Moore
really-
as James Bond.
but we did Timothy Dalton's first one last week, and within that opening sequence you at least get a new identity and it feels like a fresh introduction to a new Bond, where this just felt like we've swapped out the actor and it's the same guy and you don't really need to worry too
I
much about
forgot it was his first movie because how established as James Bond he like is immediately. And I also forgot, I thought Roger Moore was shorter for some reason. I thought he was less charismatic growing up.
which made me think about how tall those henchmen must be because I'm like, Roger Moore's pretty
Right?
tall and these guys are like half a foot taller
Towering
than him.
over him, yeah.
Yeah.
They're just all
Well,
on
it's-
Apple boxes.
Yeah,
Apple box shoes. Yeah.
they're sitting
The
on
whole,
blankets.
like, there's so many weird it's like you can kind of piece together what's going on. It's like, so the guy, like the what do you call it? I'm blanking on the word, but the guy that's like the representative of the country is also running an illegal pot, is working on getting all the country addicted to heroin for free, and then charging them a bunch more money for all this other heroin he has. He's gonna
It's a
like
flawless plan. The CIA did it in the 80s with crack cocaine. So
yeah, he's just copying it. But then he has like an alter ego where they all dress up like pimp characters to sell this stuff, and he has like like a whole which actually was funny because usually when you watch these old movies, like, and people are in heavy makeup, especially because I have the Blu-ray set of all the Bond movies, that like especially in high.
Oh, 1%er over here, eh?
Let's just say, life's been good to me. I don't know. I probably bought it in a sale a long time ago, but and if you want me to show it off, it's a nice little set. So anyway, usually the makeup would be very obvious, but that actually wasn't. Like, it actually kind of was a little bit of a surprise when he peels off his face and it's the same guy.
I mean, we'll get to it when we get to it because we are going to go through the movie beat for beat.
Oh, we are okay.
When we first were introduced to him at that moment, I was like, "Oh no, is that going to be a white guy dressed as a black guy?"
Yeah,
It looked like monster makeup.
Would that have been
It's like the opposite of white
worse?
chicks. It's like white chicks.
Yes,
reverse.
actually.
Yeah. Reverse white chicks.
I'm gonna make a
this-
film called Black Dude. That's not gonna be problematic at all.
Good luck.
So,
I want nothing to
these-
do with this.
Yeah.
these movies all are so emblematic of their time. Like, you can tell where they're all rooted in. Like, that's kind of the cool thing about Bond. And this one is like, oh, was this blaxploitation era? I couldn't tell.
1973, pretty much
Yeah,
smack dab in the middle of it. Yeah.
Definitely
It's like,
was.
if you gave me no context, I'd be like, I know when this movie was made.
Yeah.
This movie was
Kind of.
made either 3 years before or after Dolomite, perhaps.
Definitely falls into the realm of
Yeah.
of that. And it's like as we mentioned before, it's a very sensitive and and unproblematic view of an entire culture and a group of people, for sure. There's certainly nothing offensive or problematic about it.
Yeah.
I was in a room with someone who saw something like this and said that it was loving portrayals
Oh no.
and entering wedge strategy to better roles for Black people in cinema. And I almost died.
I mean, I'll give them credit. They hired a lot of Black people for the movie, and that's great, you know. But
I'm like, I think it might be missing the point there on the subtle nuance.
yeah, no. I mean, he's a Black business owner, you know. It's a heroin empire, but you know,
It's still a Black-owned business.
yeah, he still owns it, you know.
He's got a successful chains of soul restaurants, Soul Filet.
He also has a henchman that whispers. The name whispers, coincidentally enough, though he talks slow.
And a henchman named Teehee.
Yeesh. No, it's like tee like he's laughing, right, guys?
Was that the name of the guy with the hook hand? Was his name T?
Yeah.
Yeah,
James
there's a
Bond.
one-off. So he goes to steal Bond's watch, and Bond calls him Butterhook, and I thought his James Bond villain name was Butterhook. And on in the
Would've been a
film,
better name.
Butterhook's a great name.
Butterhook. It was so funny. It took me just a beat to figure out what he was saying. But did you notice when they played the MPAA game in the movie?
they do.
No.
At the
When he's
very-
like, what are the numbers on the back
Oh,
of the
yeah.
watch?
that's a deep cut. We used to play a
0,
game on the
8,
show, Andre,
6, 5. True
where
or
we had to
false?
guess the MPA double. Anyway, you're not gonna.
Oh, I see. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That
You
makes
won't have
sense.
to do that. We got rid of it because it screeching halt to the show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
Just going guessing numbers for 20 minutes isn't riveting viewing for the fans.
everybody said the podcast was too long, and I said, you know what, we can get rid of first.
You said that?
Yep, me. I
It was
take.
Jason definitely said it, yeah.
I definitely didn't continuously push for it.
I wonder why the
that.
podcast is too long. Eh?
Yeah. Well, speaking of the podcast being too long, let's do production talk and talk
This is
about
a
how
crystal.
movie-
Not what it looked like at first.
All right. Quiet on set. Are we rolling? Okay, let's shoot this piece of Sound. Speed. Action!
So this is the section of the show where essentially we can talk about sort of the elements of the film that aren't the plot. The next segment is the body of the episode where we're going to go beat by beat through the movie. But now I just want to name off some things for the film. The budget for the movie this is mind blowing. The budget
It
was
made
$7 million.
so much
Was
it
seven-
made-
money.
$7 million. It made 161 million 1973 American dollars. Up
This-
119.
Such a successful movie.
Wow.
$161.8 million.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's like
I think
almost
this will
like
be a sequel.
it's almost like Halloween levels, you know, like in terms of like the amount of money made relative to how much
I
was
feel
spent.
like the Blair Witch is probably still the record. It was like $35,000 and they made like $200 million. Like it's
Yeah.
some, but that's insane. That's a crazy turnaround.
So they were happy. I guess that's why
Also-
Roger Moore got hired 14 more times to be Bond. They're like,
He's
this guy
the- I-
can't miss.
I actually there's a trivia night I went to a while ago, and there's a round on Bond, and I know Bond okay. Like I thought it, but I actually got who was Bond the most wrong. I thought it was Connery.
Was it Roger Moore?
Roger Moore, yeah, he's did the
Yeah.
most.
Connery had like the Trump two sides of the one like outlier.
He just did one more after that one though, because like it's so funny about that story. Maybe you guys covered it before, but like Lazenby did the first one, and he's like, "I'm set for life," and then they're like, "Well, we want you to come back and do the next one." He goes, "You'll wait for me. I'm your new star," and he like went on a boat trip around the world, and then like when he was doing that, they're like, "We're not waiting," and they brought Sean
Yeah.
Connery back. They drove a
he's-
dump truck full of money up to his house. And
Yeah.
Thank God.
Other things that I'd like to mention: the director of this film is Guy Hamilton. He also directed a bunch of other James Bond films, like The Man with the Golden Gun, Goldfinger, Diamonds Are Forever. You know, just different minerals and ores based James Bond films. And
Did he make the one with the guy with the diamonds in his face? Diamond
I think,
face.
is that
what it was
is
called,
that
right?
Diamonds Are Forever?
No, that's
the world's
Die
not
Another
enough, isn't
Day.
it?
Die Another Day.
Oh,
It's the one where
Yeah.
Madonna goes,
Yeah,
Die Another
Die
Day.
Die Another Day,
Another
yeah.
Day.
Yeah.
It's the one where Madonna sings the song "Die Another Day."
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one, all
It
right.
narrows it down. We got her.
But looking at his IMDb, I don't really see anything else that I really recognize, other than what's notable is he worked right back to the 50s. So by the time he got the Bond movies, he was he'd already been around for a minute. The intro theme to this Bond film is, of course, Paul McCartney performing
And Linda
with-
McCartney.
and Linda McCartney performing.
They
Living
reuse
Like
it a lot in the movie. Like every
But I'm
10
fine
minutes,
with
the song plays again.
If you
What was
compare
their
that,
band? Wings?
Wings, yeah.
Yeah. if you compare that to the first James Bond movie, where there's no Bond song, and they just every time Bond is walking from point A to point B, they just play ding 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 ding, ding, and then they don't even play it during the like action sequences.
He's like walking to the toilet. Dun, 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 dun.
walking through an
Yeah.
airport
Yeah.
in Sean Connery walking through an airport with the James Bond theme blaring. It's great. But that's that. Do you have anything else that you guys want to sort of add to those things as far as production goes?
I have never given a hoot about who directs the Bonds. It's very strange. Like I really like James Bond, quite a bit, but I had not seen this movie. But we'll get to that. But I couldn't tell you who directed them. Like I know the Broccolis produced them. I could like. There's a changeover from one broccoli to another, and then the Bond girls, and then beyond that, like I could not give a hoot about what else goes on
Yeah.
in this
I
production.
think that's kind of I don't want to say universal because I'm sure there are people that do care, but
Well, the last few Bond movies have had pretty big directors. Like
I
Yeah, but
couldn't tell you who. And I normally like the guy who goes off on Paul Verhoeven for 20 minutes. Like,
yeah. I mean, there have been big directors, but they're not sort of like auteurist directors. Someone like a Verhoeven. I think that like we talked about it a little bit last week, but like Spielberg was trying real hard to get a James Bond movie, and they were like, "No, not happening, Steven."
well, like Sam Mendes is kind of a big director. Like he's done
Who
some
dat?
huge movies. So he did Spectre and Skyfall. He did like Road to Perdition, Revolutionary Road, American Beauty.
Oh,
Like,
we
you
are.
know,
American
yeah, like he
Beauty.
did some big movies.
was he win an Oscar or something?
I think American Beauty.
American Beauty.
Yeah.
That was a pretty big movie.
Is that the level of success he did?
yeah, yeah.
I don't think Guy Hamilton. I don't think Guy Hamilton.
I don't think Guy
won an
Hamilton won any awards. No.
Oscar. Right.
No, but
But,
that's a very older this kind of movie thing where you have like one director and he just like works on these projects, like these legacy, I don't know what you call them, series of movies.
Yeah. It is, yeah, I guess it's not really a saga, it's just sort of like serialized storytelling, and they just kind of swap out the actor, and they're like, no, it's like every time it's sort of a reboot, but not really.
It's like Doctor Who, really.
Yeah, kind
Sort
of.
of, yeah. Even the
It'd
one
be
character.
actually cool if they. A friend of mine suggested this one time, and I thought it'd be really neat that that Bond, the name James Bond, comes with the 00. So like it's not always the same agent; it's someone else that accepts the role. So like that way, it kind of explains it and why they're all a little different instead of just accepting.
We talked about this briefly during Dr. No, and how characters like Felix Leiter are the same thing, where there's like that's the American version where they pass that along as well. But even the character of Quarry in this movie is like Boatman. That character, the name Quarry is the guy in the first movie, the Dr. No movie, and then this guy's like Quarry Jr. So I guess he's his
the son. He looks
Maybe?
exactly the same, potentially the same actor.
He doesn't
I like that they
look
think
exactly
that,
the
like-
same at all. It's clearly a different actor.
And it's
It's
nice
like
that they
M
think.
and Q, right? Like
Yeah.
they're just
Yeah.
titles.
And Moneypenny.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice that they like think that the audience would care at that time. Like, who's paying that much attention? Like,
Nobody.
in the Bond movie, like in 1973 when this came
I
out, like who's
would not
going
have
like,
realized.
oh, that's that guy's now,
Yeah. I would not have realized that Quarry was like meant to be related to Quarry from the first movie if I hadn't watched Dr. No 2 weeks ago and Quarry was the main character.
I probably
Every time
could have
you guys
watched it and
say-
still not known.
Every time you guys say Doctor No, I in my head I say we don't need a doctor. I just
Nice.
They didn't.
it's
have
the
that
failed
kind
translation when they initially translated Doctor No to I can't remember which market they translated it as we don't need a doctor.
No doctor needed here. Yeah.
like
No
those
doctor.
South African movie posters that are just get the movie completely wrong.
Those are the
Like
best. Those are the
wild
best.
drawings.
If I ever
The,
make a movie, that guy's doing my official movie poster.
Yeah, absolutely. The guy who made the hobo with a shotgun poster kind of exemplified that notion a little bit, and it might have been a friend of mine. Anyway, I digress. The thing that I love about the idea of the 007 being a mantle is Dave Mader was on the show last week, and he introduced us to sort of a new version of that where it's a multiverse. Multiverses are very
Okay.
in right now, so it was top of mind.
Not in the 1970s.
But no, Tarantino and Kevin Smith sort of revolutionized the idea that we're going to remember things for later movies and have people talking about them in the movies, which makes us make podcasts about them in the future. I think that's my theory. That's just a theory. I don't want to put that down as like fact. I like the idea that James Bond is a mantle. I think that even though it's kind of a thing that is sort of like widely regarded and talked about, I think it is my prevailing idea of who James Bond is. Personally, that's just me. Do you have anything to add to that? I was just talking there for a second, and I was like, I hope they're listening.
No, I think it would have been cool if they had done that, and then they could have done like when Doctor Who does that episode where all the old doctors team up. It would have been great to have like a Bond movie where the Bonds team, like the other people, and then you learn their real stories. Besides,
I
the
always
Bond
thought
role that would have been
when
cool.
Skyfall, when they go back to Skyfall, James Bond's childhood home, the like groundskeeper there, I always was like, this role was definitely written to be played by Sean Connery, and Sean Connery was supposed to step out of the shadows and be like, let's home alone the shit out of this house or something, right? Like that's what was supposed to happen. But then Sean Connery was like, I'm too old and abusive and nobody wants me here. So he didn't do it.
He's living off the Leave Extraordinary Gentleman money. He's doing all right.
It just the way it's revealed in the movie, everything about the way it's shot, and just like the idea of a weird old man being in this house, just all makes sense for it to have been Sean Connery.
Also,
And
the fact that Daniel Craig is Scottish.
Yeah.
yeah.
Is he?
Well, no, he's like in the movie Bond is Scottish. It's the Skyfall states in Scotland.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Sorry, I was.
But but I guess he was sent off when he was a kid to private schools or whatever that led him to being Bond. So I guess that's where he got his English accent.
The way that
I was just gonna say, so that's my theory.
my theory, I can't articulate this because I'm super tired and really dumb. But more than like a multiverse, this feels like in you have a play and the main character is always that character, but the actors change, right? Like depending on where it's being produced, so that's what James Bond feels like that's more what I associate it with, of just like this is stories of like theater versions, and James Bond is played in these different things by these different people. There's something that's actually like I'm referring to something, but I don't remember what it is. So at some point in the bottom of the YouTube section for this, I'm going to type in the words that it is that I'm trying to describe. But yeah, it's like he's just fitting into it. The pantomime. It's a whatever. It's a Homeric essay, and you're just retelling it. So it doesn't matter who's in that role, so long as the character is there, right?
I like that idea too. Sort of like C-3PO in Return of the Jedi, like telling the story to the Ewoks, and then they're just imagining their own version of the story in their minds.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like the Book of Mormon. But
True, yeah, that too.
Or any play like Hamlet or something, right? Like any play.
Yeah, I thought of
like a big role.
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead. That's what popped into my mind at that time.
Thematically,
so when I
it's
think
closer
of
to this.
Bond, I don't think of them as separate characters that have picked up the mantle. It's just, this is James Bond. It's always the same James Bond. It's just played by a different actor in a different scenario. Like one is as James Bond as the other. So I've never considered, even though the recent ones really try to fuck with that by creating their own timeline more.
Yeah.
That's a contemporary concept, and I think it was absent in these like the previous pre-Daniel Craig movies, where you're just supposed to see him as James Bond.
Yeah, I think that them like trying to reintroduce old characters as if he's never met them before, that kind of like messes with that idea. But
well, I think it fits more into like the Doctor Who way. So it's almost like whenever they bring in a new Doctor, it's like we get new villains, new people playing the villains. Maybe they're old ones, but they're new again. And then they're always sort of like, there is a deeper continuity, but they sort of eschew all of that and start over. So like every time there's a new Bond, it's like, here's a new continuity that we're going to follow. It's like whenever a comic books reboot, Batman again, and then you have to learn all the new Batman.
Not again. How did his parents die?
Yeah,
Watching
were Pearl's involved again? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's why the Batman was so good, because they completely skipped that because we don't need it.
Well, yeah, it's like we've had it 100 times. We don't, it's like the last Spider-Man movies didn't either. They're like, you've seen Uncle Ben die 3 different ways now. Let's
and also with great power
kill
comes great
Aunt May.
responsibility. Things change. So the Amazing Spider-Man one was like, when you have the element of a powerful person, then respect comes from looking inward. Like they had some like long, and then there's an even different one for the Amazing Spider-Man, or the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man TV show, which I thought was hilarious.
I actually like
Another
that.
thing I
like
think
that
of.
quite a bit. Sorry, go ahead. No, I was going to say I like that they didn't need the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man one.
Yeah,
it's like Norman tells him with great power comes great respect, and it's like, so it's like Spider-Man's going to find his own way to that lesson after learning that Norman says the wrong way. So like it's interesting. But anyway, sorry, go ahead. No,
I saw Wicked, so I don't remember what I was going to say.
I was going to say I want to see Uncle Ben get beaten to death with a lead pipe in a hyper violent Zack Snyder thing.
Blood all over Peter's face.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Spider-Man has to complain about New York being too woke or some bullshit.
And then at the end he's fighting Sandman, and then he's like gonna lose, and he says like Ben, and then Sandman's like Uncle's name is Ben as well, and he's like, why did you say that name?
Yeah, why did you say that name?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember what it was. So the Andy Hardy movies with like Mickey Rooney, and it's like love finds Andy Hardy, and Andy Hardy goes to business, or whatever the hell. Like that's also what I think of when I think of the James Bond canon. It's just like this character, and it's episodic. Like characters come and go.
I agree with you, and that's how I always felt about Bond up until the Craig stuff, like you were saying, like where they're trying to really make it clear that like, no, this is his first roundabout, and like everything is new to him, which is, I think, like I do like the Craig movies quite a bit, but they do feel separate from the old ones in the way that Up to Brosnan doesn't. Those ones all kind of feel like they could exist.
I think Casino Royale is probably the best Bond movie, so that's in my opinion. It's great.
I like it too. And that's all I have to say about that.
This segment got away from us. The production talk died a long time ago.
All right.
This was just like James Bond talk, but
Yeah.
why don't we get into the body of the episode and start talking through this movie?
All right, you want a long body or a short body?
I want a long body, buddy.
Ho, 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 ho! Everybody back up, because here comes the body of the episode.
All right, perfect. We did it. We got to the body of the episode. The production talk episode was meant to shorten things. It allows us to talk. That's cool. How about this? 3 British agents are assassinated in New York, New Orleans, and the Caribbean island of San Monique. This sets up a global drug trafficking plot. So as we get into it, we sort of have that happen, and then I think it goes right into the James Bond theme, right? How does this movie start, y'all?
Yes.
Yeah, the guy gets bit by the snake. I think is where it goes.
He gets a little snake kiss. He gets
Yeah, it's
blood from him.
death by snake, death by pun, and what was the third one? Death by. Oh no, his ear thing killed him, and he did the classic Bond death of the.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then I was like, "Oh, interesting. We're doing this, eh?" And then Paul McCartney started singing.
Yeah, I love how almost
that movie is
nobody-
really that song has really gone beyond like it's a Bond song. Like
Yeah.
it's just such a big song that it's so weird to see it in a movie because I've just always known it as that Paul McCartney song, right?
There's a few that have done it, but yeah, it is one of the bigger ones that have.
I talked about it last week, but Guns N' Roses have a cover that was definitive in my childhood. Had the Spaghetti Incident album. Go watch last week. Steve riffed on Spaghetti Incident for a long time. It's funny. But that version of the song I heard probably before the Paul McCartney song, potentially. Probably not. But you're right. It's big. Like, there's not a lot of Bond themes that are bigger than the movie almost. And that's definitely.
I don't know that Madonna one.
Die another day.
I think Skyfall is one that had a big impact on me, but
Chris Cornell's one was really good too. From
Yeah,
Casino Royale.
I even kind of
recently
like the
discovered
Rihanna Jack
that
White one.
I think Goldfinger is
Yeah,
the really big one, and she's the only person who's done 2 because she did
I
Diamonds
still
Are
sing
Forever as well.
Goldfinger in the shower all the time.
Goldfinger. He's the man with the Midas
I think
touch.
Yeah.
that's like the most iconic one.
And Evil, the one from Austin Powers. Evil is his one and only name.
No,
Austin Powers also had Madonna doing Beautiful Stranger, which wasn't really like the theme of the movie, but he was in the music video. Austin Powers was in the music video for.
When I think about that era, my skin starts crawling with the feeling of Sherpa, and I feel like I'm being strangled by kaleidoscope colors. It's like this empty.
Strangled by Kaleidoscope Colors sounds like a weird song from that era.
Yeah, it sounds like a Beatles song.
Semi-funny story about that song. So my cousin, when we were kids, he was obsessed with Madonna, and it turned out he was gay. Who knew? But when we were hanging out, we listened. He was always listening to Madonna, and we were talking on the phone one night, and he was trying to record "Beautiful Stranger" off the radio. So I was like, "Well, I'll see if I can call it." This is aging me now. So he's trying to record it off the radio. So I called. I was like a teenager. I was probably 14 or something. So I called the radio station and requested "Beautiful Stranger," and then the DJ's like, "Hey, Andre, what do you want to hear?" And I'm like, "Can I get "Beautiful Stranger" by Madonna? This is for Darcy," and that's my cousin's name. And he goes, the DJ goes, "Oh, is Darcy a beautiful stranger?" And I was like, "No." It just snap ends because it was like my cousin, right? I was like, no, yeah, basically. Then it just cuts.
Turns out Darcy was a beautiful stranger.
He was. He's a great guy. But it's funny because they cut that part out of it when they aired it. It just says for Darcy, then it cuts, which sounds good because I was like, no, I'm straight, I swear.
14-year-olds so concerned about their sexuality.
Yeah, exactly.
I really dislike Thunderball's chase scene, by the way, Tim. So we'll get to that.
Thunderball. Oh yeah, when we get to it. When we
movie
continue down the big book of British bonds for the next 10 years.
Yeah. This is I knew we're gonna have to do those twice a year to get through them, like the grimoire.
Part of the cool thing about the openings, though, for James Bond is that they're really stylistic. Like
This
you'll
one's
always have the same kind of like the ladies in gold, ladies drowning, ladies on fire. Like who's gonna have?
Ladies. Yeah.
Uh,
You can show
this one
nipples
was
in James
creepy.
Bond movies as long as it's in silhouette.
Yes.
Yeah, this one was creepy, but I like it though. I like that the skull pops in over top of people's faces, and
Yeah, the like I don't know, like the Baron Samedi imagery is interesting with him always laughing and then cutting to the skull and then like, yeah, this is cool. I thought the intro video. I don't think I'd ever seen this one. It's been a
No,
million years.
I had
don't
definitely
remember
never
it, so.
seen it, and I was captivated by it to the point that the song plays again briefly at the very end, or in the there's no credits because the credits happen at the start, but it plays again at the end, and then I was like, rewind to the start, watch the intro again. I had to see that again after knowing what I know about the movie, which is everything. No.
Yeah.
bam, bam, bam,
Um,
bam, 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 bam.
the
Yaphet Kotto, we see him, and he is the only one who feigns any kind of shock, even though he's the only one in the room that knows what's going to happen. I'm surprised that more people weren't immediately like, this old man just died. It takes them a
Yeah.
really long time to give a shit. So, which also led me to believe, do like people just, collapse during these United Nations meetings all the time out of sheer boredom? They're like, fuck.
and they're just like, he's just taking a nap. Just
He's just-
took a little sleep there.
I had a nickel for every time someone fell asleep during these UN meetings.
I do also love the idea of somebody getting their brain scrambled from a sound. Like it's just a fun way to assassinate somebody to me.
I thought his head was gonna explode.
Oh, like scanners, that would have been awesome. We just
Yeah.
Just scanners them a decade before scanners.
Yeah. But this is our only Yaphet Kotto, second Yaphet Kotto movie, I think. The only other movie that we've done with him in it is the sixth Nightmare on Elm Street movie where he plays the therapist.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah. Yep, that's right.
And
He's the bad guy in this. Crazy, I didn't put that together.
Yeah, I'm looking up the cast right now because y'all dropping names, and I'm like, eh.
I recognized him.
the only reason I know Yaphet Kotto's name is because he's in my favorite movie ever made, Alien.
I was going to
The
say,
best
live
movie
and let
ever.
die. No, I'm just kidding.
Live and Let Die, my favorite.
A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, or whichever one.
Yeah, he's actually like the best part of like one of the best parts of this movie. Like as an actor,
I
he's
agree.
quite good. The role's not
Right.
great, but as an actor, he's quite good. And I liked him a lot.
So James
Wait,
Bond
was
fans, I have a
Baron
question.
Samedi in Annie? Did he play the ass? Oh, okay, sorry.
James
know.
Bond fans, is Mr. Big?
He is a dancer.
Um,
Like I know that his like main credits, Baron Samedi, like the actor who played him, Jeffrey Holder, is like mostly known as a dancer and singer. So he probably, it would make sense that he was in Annie. Sorry,
I mean,
Jason,
We have to admit on this. I guess we'll get to
He
it.
was.
But magic exists in this world. There's no way what they
Oh, it
did.
absolutely does.
There's no way what they did with those Sambis coming out of the grave would be just practical effects that are, when he's looking at the hole in his head. It's like, no.
yeah, it seems almost like he can possess like wax statues or something, like because it was alive. Like
Yeah, for a
but
second.
it is so weird. But the
It was
fact
a
that
fembot.
it was a fembot, yeah.
I can't wait to gloss over the boat chase so we can talk about that last. Can we say, is voodoo okay to say? I
think so.
was thinking
So
about
I think that we have to say it in the context of this movie.
Okay,
That's
right.
what it is, even though we all understand that this is a caricature of what voodoo is and is othering and like it is a spiritual practice, and that none of us are qualified to talk about it, and is definitely not treated with any respect or reverence in this movie.
Oh,
I agree.
100%.
We did mention
And
that
now we can say
earlier.
voodoo.
And now we
Now
can
we
say
can
voodoo
say
all we
voodoo.
want. Yeah.
It's like, you ever see the movie The Serpent and the Rainbow? That one really, really goes hard into like not appreciating that culture or like paying any real reverence towards it at all, and just being like, they make zombies. It's
Yeah.
like
The only thing I know about
Hollywood
voodoo,
executives were like, this is what people do in New Orleans, right? In the
Yeah.
woods.
You're right.
everything that I know about voodoo comes from the Princess and the Frog. So I'm
Well,
I'm
Yeah.
sure Disney handled it just as carefully as they did the Pocahontas myth.
I also think that character in that movie is meant to
Dr.
be like,
Facilier?
yeah,
He's fantastic.
I think he's meant to be sort of like a Baron Samedi stand-in, like because the character Baron Samedi is like a lore thing. We talked about it a little bit before the show started, but it's like you were saying, Andrea, it's like they can't market it, they can't like trademark it and put it on T-shirts without calling him something other than that.
Yeah, they had him in what was one of the seasons of American Horror Story had a version of Baron Samedi that was, you know, the skull makeup and the top hat and the whole thing. So yeah, he's kind of a cultural icon that's been around for a long time. But yeah, it's they want to make their
like
own version.
visually, like the character, from what I understand with it, it's like pretty offensive in general, but like the character is meant to always have a cigar and like a glass of some sort of like liquor, like rum or something,
and a top hat.
And he's got a top hat, and he's either depicted as a skeleton or a man, a dark-skinned man with a like painted to look like a skeleton in some way.
And ultimately, just represents death. I think is the biggest.
He's almost more. He's not death, but he's more like the ferryman, like a different version of the ferryman, where he
kind of a trickster.
He's got friends on the other side.
Yes,
and he can make the Ultimate Warrior vomit black stuff,
like that movie.
I've only seen The Princess and the Frog once, but I do remember that his musical sequence. It's Keith David, right, who plays him? Am I right about
in the movie? I believe so.
He's a cartoon. He's not played by
the voice. The voice. He's not played by anybody.
Keith David,
he is Dr. Facilier.
Keith David should just show up in animated films as himself.
Hello, I'm Keith David.
Hello, he was Keith David was Dr. Facilier. Yes.
Okay, cool.
But I think it's impossible for us to talk about this movie without at least using that word and talking about how extremely problematic it is.
Yeah, I don't think any of us went into this movie or came out of this movie being like, wow, that was totally safe and fine and everything that was handled so delicately.
I was like, why'd you pick this one?
We didn't pick this one. We picked the first one for each actor.
Why did I pick this one?
Right.
Well, like the idea they made this, like of all the Bond villains to like put him against, having like Haitian, like voodoo, Bayou villains, like it just seems so opposite of what Bond generally deals with. And maybe that's
we
why
also
they
have
chose
to consider the fact that this is the 8th James Bond movie, so they're getting to a point now where they're like, well, we got to have something completely different than we.
Yeah, that's probably it. Going to America and really making an American movie, kind of, you know, fits into that world, I guess. But it is.
I think it's also, like I said earlier, the blaxploitation thing. Like they're also out to make money and capture whatever the
that was a big genre at the time.
Vibe is.
Yeah.
So
you might have hit the nail on the head there, because that was a big genre at the time. So they're probably just trying to capitalize on that by doing something like this.
Well, it worked because it made $168
million.
Yeah.
Because it also has like all of the stereotypes that come in blaxploitation and like the verbiage that's used, like the slang and the pejoratives and all of that are the same.
Hearing James Bond say pimpmobile was pretty great.
Well, that's
a white pimpmobile.
The best part is James Bond being thrust into this world and him being like this weird, like proper British guy. And then he's in Harlem.
Yeah, I like that part.
In the 70s.
All the black people are trying to warn him. They're like, I don't know if you should go into Harlem.
I don't know if you should go there. It's like, I'll be fine, Moneypenny. It's like, I'm not Moneypenny. This is the only.
He just calls every woman he doesn't want to have sex with Moneypenny. He's not a proper British gentleman. He's a fucking pervert. We open this movie and he's seduced another spy from Italy, and he uses a magnet to take all their clothes off, like a real perv.
It's my magnetic personality, dude.
Yeah.
Well,
if you think the movies are problematic, you should read the books.
So this movie is the only movie without Q in it, but it is also the only movie where we really only see him use one Bond gadget, but then a lot of other gadgets are like talked about or referenced.
He uses the whole, like the brush, and he's got his whole little case when he's trying to figure out where the different.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
But he only has like one of the. Like the watch or the pen but there's usually only one item of like note in each one of these. Like there's of all of the gadgets that he has, one of them is the like little MacGuffin thing.
And that's his magnet watch.
He certainly used it a lot in this movie.
And they don't reveal it's a saw till way later in the movie.
Guys,
Yeah.
they couldn't have a Q scene. They needed to have a 25-minute boat chase. Like, you can't waste time having him talk to Q.
Yeah, that's true. We don't need Q muddying up the place. I love how much his boss seems to really hate him. He's like, why does he even have a job? The boss is like, I'd shoot you in the head if I could, bud. All right, go up on this mission.
Well, M
Goodbye.
rolls in while he's like seducing this woman, and so does Moneypenny. He like stuffs. No, she doesn't. She doesn't stuff her in a closet. She goes and stuffs herself into a closet. 'cause
Yeah, like
she's
it was the morning.
nude.
They'd already slept together. They were just asleep in the
Yeah.
bed when he shows up. He's knocking at the door.
And I wanted to point out the espresso machine that he has, which nowadays like wouldn't be out of place in a modern kitchen. And then M is like, that's all it does is make coffee. And I'm like, that's a pretty nice little coffee maker.
It
I
felt like
didn't
an
even-
advertisement. I was like, is this
right?
supposed to be?
I thought he was being like, "Can't you just use drip coffee, dumbass?" Was how like I took
What's up with this fancy bullshit? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of the vibe I got.
Like, get
too.
your shit together, eh?
So another thing I noticed too is in the very first James Bond, the sexual tension with Moneypenny was like palpable. It seemed like they had to give and take. In the Timothy Dalton one, it was very much like she was hitting on him, but she was attractive, and he was like kind of like a little flirty, but sort of thwarting her advances. In this one, she's like old enough to be his mother, or maybe older sister.
No, I think of equal age. You sick fuck.
I don't know.
They look like they're the same age as mother. What the hell?
Just
I
'cause
don't
they,
know.
they don't have her all sexed up. Like
Okay,
she's just like
no.
a normal woman. Like
you
know.
have
I was
a
reading
point though.
context, not what she literally looked like. but also a little
This
bit
is
she
what my
literally looked
paper
like.
that I wrote on James Bond in uni was about. It was about the portrayals of Moneypenny throughout like the history of, and you that was one of the parts of my thesis, is that she's young, like her role changes depending on which Bond, and they age her up, and like I'm not going to go over my thesis, but
Can you pull it out?
I
and
think you
read
should
it
just
now?
read it. Actually, we can
Yeah.
just hang out.
How many
I think
pages
from,
is
like,
it? 700,000.
30.
In the Brosnan movies, she always seemed to be like sort of like an equal age to him, and he was just, you know, always kind of like, well, you're the in-house agent, and I don't need to interact with you. And there was like a mutual respect, but he's like, clearly he doesn't want to have sex with her. She wants to have sex with him, and it just feels kind of rude. Like her character in general is kind of treated poorly, and I think that the Craig answer, like the Craig verse, they're like, well, we have to make Moneypenny like a sniper, and like it kind of felt like it not like it just changed the character so much that it doesn't have the same sort of, she doesn't exist in the same sense that she does in the other movies, which is almost to be like, smarten up, Bond, you pervert. Not in all of them, obviously. Like she is very vastly different. I don't even know if it's the same actor who plays Moneypenny throughout even a full Bond run, right? I know in the Brosnan movies it's always the same actor, and in the Craig
She
movies,
wasn't, yeah, but she wasn't in many of the Craig movies.
No, yes, but what I'm saying is they use the same actor for those two Bonds, but I'm not sure about Dalton or Moore or even Connery. Like if they use the same actor, if it's a different person every time. I won't know until I go through them all again. Way to
Sorry.
erase. That was like getting, you know, the device in Men in Black when they like erase your memory.
So let's
That's
start
kind of-
over.
Let's trying to put the background in. Yeah, actually, we have to start over because of that. So anyway,
So production talk.
yeah. Sorry.
Anyway,
Back to that.
I think I was just going to be talking in a circle there anyway.
So I should just
in
do
this
that from
movie,
now on. If
in
I
this
feel
movie,
like
I think that she seems like she is the
Sure.
same age as Bond, and she's more like, oh, fucking Bond, always doing this bullshit. He needs to smarten up. He's probably got some young lady hiding in the house. Oh, yep, I was right. Here she is. Was the point I was getting at? I think. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it
lent a
does
new
seem
memory
like
for
she's
me.
more like a buddy than any kind of have her own agency whatsoever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
This one felt like there was you know, they could have easily been the same age, but she felt a little bit more like domineering than the other two that I've experienced. So we didn't do a brief histories really because we didn't really need to, but I've only seen these movies as a kid with my grandmother, and I'm rewatching them sort of through a lens that's a lot like I had seen them, but only remember bits and pieces and flashes. I basically don't remember Moneypenny from the series. I know the character, but I don't remember this dynamic. And I thought from Dr. No, I thought my original theory was that they were like destined to be together characters, but I've now seen 3 different versions of Moneypenny. So
Yeah, she's meant to be there to be the woman that he never actually sexually interacts with.
mhm.
And that's what she was up until Craig. I think even in the Craig's movie, she's still like the same, where she's like, no, we're never doing that. Don't even think about it.
Moneypenny is onto shop. But I do actually want to talk about my brief history with Bond. That's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, he brief history button. It won't be a nightmare to edit later.
Okay, fine.
No, give her hell, buddy. We played the Sting.
Yeah. So yeah, I demanded to go on these, but I have a huge blind spot with the Roger Moore run. Like, I haven't seen any of the Roger Moore run. I have I own the other collections. I've seen the Lazenby. I've seen most of the Daltons, but like none of this. And it's because a person that I knew who I didn't really like, this was their favorite Bond. So I just was like, no, I won't watch these movies then. So this one was fun to like experience a part of Bond that I wasn't aware of, even though like I love this character and I love these movies. And
Cristiano
I've read
loves
some of the
this
books.
movie, though.
Can't. But
It is kind of crazy to think that this is somebody's favorite out of all of them. But I think I said the same thing about, like, you can say that about all of them, I guess, unless there's like standouts. But
Well, was it like Moore was his favorite Bond, or this was his favorite Bond movie?
Moore was his favorite Bond.
Okay.
That's what he said there. Yeah, live and let die. No, it definitively was the best, and Moonraker the worst.
I know. I think The Man with the Golden Gun is the best Moore one, but I just feel like Christopher Lee. So.
Oh, Christopher Lee's in that. That's
Roger Ebert eviscerated this movie.
Of course he did. It's not a good movie. I mean, it's fun, but it's not good. Like if you look at it for cinema, then no, it's not.
It's got some pacing issues. I will admit.
Yeah, I direct your attention towards the 30-minute boat chase scene.
Yeah. So
and the bumbling cop character that's just introduced for no reason.
he's not even. He's the sheriff of the whole town, and he's clearly so racist. It's just like, fuck.
he's like, hey boy. It's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Miss Caruso was the name of the other agent, BT Dub. And the CIA needs Bond to investigate Karanga, who is also Mr. Big.
Doctor.
Dr. Karanga.
It's a great name.
Kananga. Kananga. Who does a little bit of a double personality thing, which was good. And it's fun. I asked, funny because I asked you guys, like, or I tried to ask you guys, is Mr. Big or Kananga like in the Pantheon, in the Rogues Gallery? Do people bring him up as one of those villains? Like, okay,
did he make it? Did he make it into the GoldenEye video games? If he wasn't, then he did. That's
No, but Baron Samedi did,
and so did Oddjob and Lockjaw.
Yeah, I think Baron Samedi kind of overtakes it. Like,
also,
he's
that's usually how it works for the Bond movies. Is the henchmen often are more interesting than the actual villains, because the villains are usually interchangeable. You could kind of always they always have the same sort of structural intent, which is like, I have a plan to make a lot of money and or take over the world or destroy an government or world government, and then like the guy like Diamond Face from that one movie is far more interesting than like the white guy who gets plastic surgery to look Asian or whatever. Like, it's just like this weird, complicated, silly plot, but the guy with the diamonds in his face looks cool. So I'm like, this guy's better. I would buy a toy of this guy. I don't give a shit about this other guy at all. And same with Oddjob, in Goldfinger, he's more interesting than Goldfinger. Goldfinger looks like the guy who plays the sheriff in this movie, like he's just some guy's like, I'm going to kill you with a laser. Not cool, but a guy who throws his hat at you to kill you, cool. That's cool.
I am
the
glad
guy who played Random Task in Austin Powers is in prison for life for like murdering.
For murder, yeah.
Yeah.
I am glad that the biggest fan ever of this movie is in the chat tonight. So welcome,
Yeah,
Cristiano. I'm sorry that if we have different views than you, but I appreciate your comments.
I don't dislike this movie.
No, I don't think it's a bad movie. I think I gave it 3 stars on Letterboxd. That's pretty good. Like, it's not bad. Like, it, it's
To the villains, though, this is like the opposite of a DC superhero where they're defined by their rogues gallery.
Yeah.
James Bond is defined by James Bond. And then everything else is just window dressing. Like the rest of the Bond movies, like before Craig, is rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Like it really doesn't matter what's going on around him.
Agreed. Other than the henchmen, they all have something wild about them. Where you're like, this guy's got a robot hand.
You want the gadget, you want the Bond girl, you want her name, you want who the weird henchman is, like in From Russia with Love with what's her name, with a little like knife that pops out of her shoe, and she like kicks and.
It's a good knife.
There's a reason all of those characters were moved into the Austin Powers analog.
Well, let me pepper this in.
Sheriff pepper this in, you mean?
Do you guys do you guys have a name for a Bond villain and their gimmick? Did you come up with anything?
I do.
Give it to us.
Otto Matic. Matik. And he's obviously a robotic engine expert that makes like fancy robots that Bond has to fight.
I thought you were going to say autoerotic, and I was like,
I like that too. I like that. I would fight you, Bond, but I have to go strangle myself in this closet. What am I? And then, like, that's how he dies. He messes up and he just accidentally kills himself. Bond doesn't even have to fight him. He just hangs in the closet.
Write it down. Autoerotic.
I got it. I got automatic and autoerotic right next to each other.
Both good options. They could be brothers, maybe. They go different ways.
Oh my! Writing that down too. We must not talk about our dirty little secrets.
That's right.
I don't have a Bond villain.
You don't have one? Have we? Well, Steve invented. Did you invent carpal tunnel, or was that?
That's a great name.
Here he is. Well, so his name is Corporal Tunnel, and
Corporal Tunnel.
He's still shovel hands. I drew him.
He's like an actual supervillain. Like he's not like a Bond villain. He's like someone's like, the Fantastic Forward fight.
Yeah, well, he's one of the henchmen. So he just like burrows out of the ground and he goes, "I'm Corporal Tunnel," and then he goes back into the ground.
Okay, so you can have more fun with the henchmen, but every single time I thought of something, I was like, no, that's already been spoofed. Like this is like one of the most spoofed genres.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to go with the Bond girl name. That's what I was having trouble with too. I was like, it's been spoofed so much in Austin Powers and other things that I'm like, it's almost hard to do something that has
that one I have.
I got one too.
We're gonna meet Rosie soon. So, and then of course Solitaire. So let's just do it now. I came up with a Bond girl name right now, and it's Virginia Velour.
Ooh, I like that.
I think that fits. I think that would be a good one.
That fits. That's good. But, all right, I'm gonna say mine for last.
Yeah, how about you, Noel?
Daisy Cutter, which is what they call bombs.
Yeah.
Like it was supposed to be my wrestling name until I got some racist gimmick instead. We're not going to talk about it.
It's also threatening sounding.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I like that.
Yeah, she's more the pussy galore than the murdered in a hammock Bond girl.
I feel like I had a good one when me and you were talking about it, Noel, but I can't remember what it was now.
Oh my god, it was so good. And I was like, maxi pads.
That's my Bond villain, Maximum Pads, and he wants to take over the world by putting a bazillion maxi pads in the ocean.
I remember what mine was. It was Penelope Bang Bang.
Ooh, that's a great name. What are you like? Is that of the Norwegian Bang Bangs? Like,
yeah, of course.
Yeah. Oh,
you've heard of them.
Yeah. I have. Yes, well known. Yeah. Mine is penetration.
Oh God,
that's good. That's a drag name if I've ever
Well,
heard
that
one.
fits right into the pussy galore, octopussy, all that stuff. It's ridiculous. So penetration is mine. Penelope Tration.
I sent you one. What was it? Oh, vagina camel toe.
Well, like in Austin Powers had a lot of vagina, which is like already like
Yeah.
you know, already broaching into that.
Massive gazongas.
I just went into it. Just call her vagina.
Yeah.
Like we give like Debbie, like I don't know, down and then double D for short or something. Like I mean, there's lots of things you could do.
So long as it's sexual or offensive, you're good.
Oh, yeah. Although we this one seemed to ignore the sexual name, but it's just a dumb name. Like-
Miss Solitaire. We don't even get
Yeah,
a
her
first
name is Solitaire, no first name, and her gimmick is tarot cards. Like
Yeah.
it's not even, which aren't the cards
And
you play
cultural
solitaire with.
appropriation.
Yeah.
She, the Dr. Quinn medicine woman, unrecognizable. She's so young. Like
It took me like 15 minutes before I realized that was Jane Seymour. And I knew she's in this movie. I was waiting for her to show up, and I'm like, oh shit, that's her. I actually met her in real life. I do some acting, and she was on a TV show they're filming out here that I was doing background on. She was nice.
That's
Very
awesome.
nice. I didn't
bet
have a
she's-
chance to ask her about solitaire, but
Yeah, I was gonna say on her break, she's just constantly playing solitaire, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
God.
of
Okay.
course.
Okay, world mind. Let's get real.
Human
That's
cider.
amazing.
Oh my god.
I'm writing that down.
I feel like they have to be real names. You can't just like it's like being like,
Human.
my name's Felicia O.
Well, whose
well,
fucking name is
there's
Pussy
Christmas
Galore?
Jones.
Whose name is Pussy
Yeah.
Galore? Like
That's true.
I thought,
Pussy
yeah,
galore
and
is
Christmas
wild.
was
Some of them
always,
are real bad.
Christmas was only so they could do the gag though. I thought Christmas only came once a year. And that's
Yeah,
in Sean
just-
Connery's accent, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We are introduced to Solitaire here, where we see her doing tarot card readings. I made a note that the Bond theme does play here, but it's like a 70s version, and that's something that stuck out from the 60s and the 80s versions. They do a James Bond theme of the era, which I really appreciate. And then Bond gets a call from Felix Leiter. And Felix Leiter is a character through this whole movie. He's not just the guy, the fun character we know who shows up. He's like in this movie. Also, Xenia Onatop, you're absolutely correct. That's
Funky
seminal,
Justin. Yeah.
no pun intended. But to my upbringing,
seminal penetration or whatever.
yeah.
Well, I always think of him
Open-
for some reason. The version of Felix I always think of is the one from Goldeneye, like the cigar chomping like American guy. You know, like he like I really like Jeffrey Wright's version in the Daniel Craig ones, but
Felix Leiter is my favorite Bond character.
yeah.
Oh,
he's
Jeffrey
cool.
Wright is Felix Leiter in the Daniel Craig
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah,
He sure is.
he's
We
awesome.
Did you just
This is a
come in your
Dr. Noah.
pants?
That's brilliant casting. That's perfect.
He's really
That's
good.
great. I believe it. He's an amazing actor.
Yeah. Oh no, he's. Have you ever
And it's
seen?
like sort of earlier in his career, the first one at least. So it's kind of nice that he's stuck around the whole time too. Like
Yeah, that's true.
he's
That
got-
Yeah,
movie
he's
he
dead
did.
now.
yeah. Well, so is Bond. Spoiler.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
This
Yeah,
Felix
yeah,
Leiter, I made a note. He sounds like Casey Kasem a little bit.
I like this Felix Leiter.
Oh,
He's a good foil to Bond. Like he's supposed to always be a foil to Bond. But they're both really punny. But like Felix he doesn't have much shits to give for Bond. But they're both so aloof. Like these are the most aloof characters. Like Bond's just walking through this movie, being like just pun after pun after pun, kind of like it's that opening scene in The Big Lebowski where he's just punning at the guy who's putting his like, I guess you're not a golfer. Like that's kind of how it felt the whole time.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
He's
That's-
also
that-
constantly like Felix Leiter's reactions in this are constantly him being like, "What?" like constantly every time something happens. Yes, Mr. Beater. No, I know you can't put the wings back. You can't just glue the wings back on the plane. We'll figure it out, sir.
It's kind of like
He's in
that
a
scene in
coma.
Doctor Strangelove where he's like the president's talking to the Russian president. He's like, no, Dmitry. I don't just call you when I want something. No, Dmitry. Like, just
Yeah.
I don't suppose you'd like to share that information with me, like how to get rid of a crocodile. But like these guys are not good at their jobs.
No.
They don't even like watch them. They just leave them. They don't even watch the crocodiles attack them. They just all go in a building and walk away. Like it's like
Nobody
they'll
in
never
this
find a
movie
way out of this.
is good at their job.
Well, if they're
Literally
spies, how do they
everyone
not
fails.
know- if they're spies, how do they not know that? Like, don't take a bunch of foppish British men into Harlem in the 1970s.
And that cop that showed up and saved him, like he did nothing besides save him, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
that's like he may be the only person in the whole movie who achieved his goal.
that's true. You made your Bond didn't get shot in Harlem. Good job.
I read a fact that they had to pay protection. Like this wasn't one of my random AI. I was like reading about this movie earlier. They did when they were filming in Harlem. They'd like pay protection to film there, not just like pay regular fees for filming. They had to pay for protection because they were under so much scrutiny from literal gangs trying to get these scenes. I guess for $7 million, they're just basically Gruella filming the streets, right?
Yeah,
Say
probably.
Gruella filming.
Gorilla.
Yeah.
Gruella.
I wouldn't appreciate if a
phonetically.
big production came in and just like used the neighborhood, and there's something kind of disrespectful about that, especially in lower income places, in places
Right.
that are like you just come in and do your thing, eh? Like, okay, cool. Like,
Yeah.
It's insane to me that this movie cost $7 million because there's some good filmmaking in this movie, right?
Yeah, it's actually like a solid, like a well. I mean, a friend of mine always used to say, "What makes a good movie? Like if you can see it, like it's in focus and the sound you can hear it, then that's all it really takes. The rest is just your opinion." So
Dark
it's like
Star.
as far as yeah. So as far as
no
like,
awards for sound design though, and I'm guessing they blew the entire budget on those alligators.
if you want a really funny thing, look up all the attempts. There's like a video online of the stunt double doing that running across the alligator, and I think it was the fifth one they got it for the movie, but like the first four are in there too, and man, some of them are scary how close he comes to getting chomped by an alligator.
It's wild
Well-
that they even did it with real alligators. Like just fake it, man. You got a scene where a guy's ripping his shoes.
There's one where like the alligator just misses him, like it just swamps, and he's like just his foot just gets out of the way, like it's
As soon as I see an animal in an old movie, I'm like, oh.
yeah, I know.
This is bad.
I have
That
a
thing
fact
wasn't
about
treated
that
well.
from this movie. Stuntman Ross Kananga performed the stunt.
He has the same
why they
last name as the
named-
villain.
Yeah, what
They
the fuck?
named the villain after the stuntman
wow.
because he was able to do the stunt for the film.
It's a cool name. Kananga's a neat name. I like
Kananga.
that name. Yeah, I wanted to steal that from something. I don't know. It's a good wrestling name. Something.
It,
Although like Noel said, I'm sure it probably used to be something that was pretty offensive racially.
old
be
school
like-
Kananga.
Yeah, he'd just be like some African warrior and like face paint and something dumb like that. But
Sweet
So
Daddy Siki.
the Bond women aren't always this daft, but these
No.
are the two daftest,
Yeah.
like
oh yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it turns out
characterless,
that
empty. Like
yeah.
there's nothing there.
especially when you're led to believe that Rosie is a CIA agent at first, and you're like, how is this woman a CIA agent? I don't understand. She's scared of a dead snake. She's scared of a top hat in her bed. She's scared.
Also,
of
was
everything.
Foxy Cleopatra from Goldmember directly based off this exact character?
no, I think she was more like Pam Grier from Coffee. or
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good point.
yeah. I
Well,
don't
just
think-
like
I don't-
first day on the job, kind of feeling new at it.
Yeah,
Foxy
like,
Cleopatra
well,
is,
they do
is
this-
extremely competent at her job and a good spy.
They do
Yeah.
this with something Darmas. What's her name in one of the Craig movies where it's her first day on the job?
Oh, the one from the Quantum of Solace.
Anna Darmas. Yeah, she's in.
Oh, no,
Spectre. I don't know.
was in
She's
Spectre,
in one
yeah.
of them. Yeah. That is funny and played well and acted well, and that's exactly the opposite of what happened here.
Yeah,
Where
this was just
it's
grating and annoying.
Weird. Yeah, it's awkward. And
It
like
is, and it's poor writing to a level that it treats the audience like they're kind of stupid, and it's
Mhm.
like it does a disservice to the character of James Bond, the character of Rosie, the movie that we're watching, because none of it is funny or good. It's all annoying and uncomfortable. Where you're like,
Yeah.
just shut up.
I'm like, just let me watch the snake for another 20 minutes, try to eat him while he's shaving. Like
Yeah.
that would have been fine.
It's also
Those-
like there's so many workarounds for like why did Rosie have to get him in the jungle to get their plot and kill him? Like why didn't she just kill him when they were in the
She's-
bed at the house?
Everyone
Like-
is so bad at their job. She tells him the place and then the wrong place, and then is working for the CIA, and his double agent gets killed anyway, and doesn't actually deliver them bond. Like she completely.
But was
Also,
I crazy when he's in the bar later and she's there? Like it looks like she's dancing as one of the dancing girls. Maybe I am crazy.
did.
I could have sworn
she
because I thought
died.
they were playing. I thought they're. Yeah, I know she did. But
Are
that's
you
what I thought.
saying they all look the same?
Not at all.
Uh-oh.
There's a woman dancing in the club. Was looking at him and he was looking at her, and I thought it was because they were playing with "Are They Dead? Are They Not?" the Baron Samedi thing, and I thought that was part of it. But maybe I just
Right.
I was also like, is
very
this
late last
someone
night.
relevant? Is this
Yeah.
someone relevant to the time period? Like I couldn't. Yes, Paloma. I was like, I'm sure I'm missing something. Like if I was in 1973, I'd be like, right, that person.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when like the Batman 66 show and like some celebrity from the time shows up and I have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
It's like
Or-
Paul Lind. I'm like, who the fuck,
Yeah.
you know, the guy from like, oh, okay.
Or in a Jane Austen book or movie where they're like, he's worth 5,000 pounds per annum, and I'm like, is that a lot? Like, is
Yeah.
that, am I supposed?
Sure.
I love this this introduction to New York. We get a car chase-ish scene. They're on the like not the Jersey Turnpike, but that like road that kind of wraps around the front of they're in like Manhattan, right?
Mm.
And he's got that driver who's driving, and then the Whisper pulls up
Yeah.
next to him and does like he has like a gun that shoots a dart in the guy's neck, and it doesn't kill him immediately, or it like
I think it
does
did.
kill him.
I think it does
It
kill him.
It did.
Yeah.
It's a hole in his head,
right,
Yeah.
but it
but you
but
don't see it at first.
but Bond is still like talking to him, and he's still like
He's just kinda like
driving.
this,
I know
and then he's
not
like-
conscious, yeah, and then he slowly falls over.
I'm guessing the window
And-
was down because it didn't break the glass. So
Right,
The window was down.
Right.
This guy.
No, no awards for editing in this one.
Well, we
'cause
know that
that is-
Bond doesn't shower. He just soaks his balls and butt in a bath while he shaves. And
Yes.
he never actually showers any other part of his body.
no, that's all you need though. Those are the only two parts that he's using.
He's like,
most
I
often.
only watch the business end.
But Jason, it is weird because they're trying to make you feel like he's not dead, but
Right.
in doing so, they filmed it in such a way that they've been like, "There's no hole in his head." Oh, now there is a hole in
well,
his
my
head.
note here was that it's just a car chase that has a car trying not to crash the whole
Yeah.
time. It's
Yeah.
just kind of swerving all over the place, but it does have it like the finish of it is cool because the car goes over like a cool jump, which was pretty exciting, and crashes. And meanwhile, Felix Leiter's like on the horn talking to Bond, I believe, and he says,
And he's watching the guys go into the embassy or whatever.
Yeah. he
"Get me a
fil-
make on that white Pipmobile."
Yeah, Pipmobile.
I mean, I think the coolest part of that whole scene is that the gun is like the rear view mirror of he has like a weird like joystick that the guy's trying to drive while also playing the video game of shoot this guy in the head at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I dug that, especially the when like later on when he's at the car trying to figure out how the bullet came out of the side. He like just keeps looking at the rear view
He's
mirror,
like, what?
how did it come out of there? Yeah.
So Bond heads over to a voodoo shop
Oh yes. Buys a toy snake.
after
Called-
telling.
It was like Da Voodoo You or something like that. Like it's something weird like that. Like,
No, it
Da
was
Voodoo-
occult. But 08.
Like
cult.
like
Occult
08
voodoo or something like that.
right.
instead of occult, like OCC.
OCC,
It's
yeah.
like, oh,
Why do that though?
maybe it's a real place. Maybe
Oh,
they found it and they're
oh.
like, oh,
Or maybe
Yeah,
they're like, we
no.
can't have the word occult in this.
all right. The
Was
witches.
the
Yeah,
70s a
satanic-
satanic panic
Satanic
time?
Panic was,
close to it,
was-
but yeah, it was the 80s.
I'll give you
it
a
was more, it was
satanic
more the
picture.
80s. It was more the 80s.
Yeah,
that's true.
It was all
started in
metal-
but this is
metal
early
albums and
70s,
stuff.
so maybe they were just like there was somebody on set who was like, we can't put witch shit in this. Don't you know that will haven't you
No.
seen The Exorcist?
Of course they can put witch shit in it. It's like full of witch shit. The
Do you know
guy
what
called
it
Baron
is?
Samedi is one of the main characters.
Yeah.
It's a pun. They just wanted to do another pun.
Yeah, they just wanted to do a pun.
This movie is so funny. It's really funny.
They spent $250,000 on that sign.
Yep, but
Wait.
they still made 100 and whatever million. So
It paid off. Yeah.
Worth it. Worth
Worth
it.
every penny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Worth every money penny.
No. Only that one for.
He's poking it around the shop in a way that's so like he's a fish out of water. He has no idea what he's looking at, and he
He's
just
like, oh,
grabs a,
skulls, eh? I think I'll buy this plush stuffed snake. It's like, what
And-
the
and
fuck?
wrap-
At least
wrap
buy
it
something
lengthwise.
authentic.
He says
Yeah.
wrap
And
it
that's-
lengthwise.
Lengthwise, please.
That's the distraction, and yeah, rapid length. Is that just like a joke? That's a joke written into the movie,
Everything
right?
is a pun in this movie.
Yeah.
Every
penis.
line.
Penis, come on.
And while rapid,
It's not funny. We were just like, what? Like length? I wanted. Like, what other way would she wrap it? Maybe she was gonna put it in a bag.
Well, if you
I don't
just
know. what the
wrapped
joke
it, if
is.
you just wrapped it this way, you just turn it that way. Like it doesn't,
Yeah.
you know, like what's
Lengthwise.
There's something really funny about telling someone to wrap a snake. What is that? Sorry, I think it's really
No, I
amusing.
agree.
It's also
I
one of those
agree.
things that, like, if you were to
How
get that-
else do you wrap up? Like, the
Yeah.
whole thing is ridiculous.
but it's also one of those things that if you wrap it up and give it to like a child, of as a gift or whatever, even the child will know what it
Yeah,
is
this is-
before because
yeah,
it's like
you wanna
wrapping
put
a
it in a
bike, but
box
it's
or
like
something.
shaped like a bike. Like it's one of those kind of things.
Also, like why would you like okay, the store is for voodoo stuff, right? Why why would you buy a
That's my
toy
point.
snake?
Too.
Like
I was
what's
like, buy
it there
something
for?
authentic at least. Buy a knife
Well,
or something.
Like if I'm buying a toy for my kid, I'm not going to go to the voodoo store
voodoo
to
store,
buy,
yeah.
to buy
Some of my
like,
favorite items that I have, like Lord of the Rings items, come from an old occult shop that used to be like in the annex.
Oh, that's
Right.
right.
They sold a variety of knickknacks and other things.
It's because they weren't selling any of their ritual
But
skulls.
if you were buying a
Like, we
toy
need some
for-
stuffed snakes.
If
just
you
in
were
case
buying a
they
toy
weird
for a
out
child,
somewhere.
would you go there looking for it? And you'd be like, yeah, this is the best
I
place.
was
to
a
buy-"
child and I went
Oh,
into the store.
Right. Yeah, but that's different. I mean, if you're an adult looking for a toy for a kid, like
Yeah,
your own
you're
kid
not
or
a
something
you're
else.
not a 45.
You're just already there because you're a satanic worshiper or whatever.
Oh.
So you're just going to your regular occult shop and you're
That's
like, oh, you little
I'll just
Jimmy
pick
Bob will really like that snake.
yeah, the
Oh,
front
yeah.
part of the store has all of the stuff that you buy for the kids, and then you go further
Yeah.
back into the store and you can get the Santeria skull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
like
am
the big
not-
sign.
yeah.
I like
bought
the
a-
big
a
sign
zip-
by the skull that said these are for rituals
For
or
ritual
something.
use only. Yeah.
Ritual use only. What else are we gonna do with this
I
human
have-
skull?
A whole bunch of skulls right beside me.
Are they actual
like-
human skulls?
No, I have
Okay.
this is a volcano agate skull. This is a regular agate skull. This is a fire quartz skull. This is a howlite skull.
Wow.
I thought it was gonna be
Well,
way
skulls.
bigger based on how much you grimaced to pick it up.
Oh, it's pretty heavy. This is an ocean jasper skull.
This is a bowling ball containing the skull of
Skull of my father.
This
he
It's
fell
a
down an
treasure
elevator shaft onto some bullets.
Yeah,
oh,
Well,
you can't really
as-
see it. I'm gonna have to
as you
undo
want to
the
do if you're a mystery man.
carry on,
But
carry on.
as he does this, it's a distraction. He
I had a
sneaks into
great
the
joke
back.
about Wolverine fur in the cult, but it's not going to work
Ooh,
anymore.
that's
Too
a lot
many
of
skulls have been
skulls.
shown. Oh, be right back.
Okay.
So that's my. I have the rose quartz skull. I have this skull. I have this skull. I have this skull. I have this skull.
This is great.
This
television.
show is just gonna be Noel showing off the skulls.
Skulls,
For-
nerds,
He
skulls.
ran away. Everyone stop talking.
Steve left and came back, and the
I don't
skulls
even.
are
I
still
don't have
there.
any skulls. I just have a bunch.
You
of
have two
gremlins.
full-size gremlins.
I have 3. There's one right there too.
Oh my goodness!
There's also 2 Mogwais up there. There's Gizmo and Spike.
I
Mogwai.
can see. I can see.
And then behind my computer is Spike from Gremlins 2.
Spike.
My whole point was that
so
having
mad.
skulls is not inherently weird or voodoo or occult.
Well, when you buy them
No.
at an occult store with a sign that says these are for ritual use only,
From the
it's
skull
kind of-
bulk bin, apparently.
kind of, undermines the point you're trying to make.
Okay.
By the way, I'm on page 1 of 4. So can we?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have this.
We can.
Right. So he sneaks into the
Oh,
back.
beautiful.
Oh my god, that's the largest skull I've ever seen today.
That's like an engineer skull from Prometheus.
Yeah.
You're like a Terminator.
I also have a bunch of crocodiles, but I won't show them.
Jesus.
All right.
This is a egg crocodile. It's a crocodile.
There was a brunch
Carry on,
place
carry on, carry
in
on.
my neighborhood that used to sell these like super decorative skulls where they would like somebody would paint them and like rhinestone them and everything with all
that's
these
cool.
fancy designs. Yeah, and that's one of them.
It's pretty cool. Was it for ritual use only?
I mean, that's what I use it for. They call me autoerotic on the
Yeah,
sheets, if you know what I mean.
I get $1 every time you mention that name. Just remember.
Yeah. And automatic. He goes into a secret room and there's pimps. It's also connected to this garage. There's a whole network of New York pimp spies or something.
Yeah, he sees Whisper go in there, the guy that was driving the car.
Yeah. And then he's also still he gets into a cab and he's like, I need to go to Harlem. And he's like, the cab driver's like, I don't think you want to go to Harlem. And he's like, I'll give you $20. And he says,
And he's like,
For
"I'll
20
sell you a
bucks.
dick for $20."
for $20, I'll take you to a KKK cookout.
Yeah,
Which is
that's
a
how much
fantastic
he wants
line.
money.
At this point, I wrote, this movie is hilariously racist. Harlem.
Oh, and they
Blonde
call him hot, and like they use the word honky like 1,000 times every time you said it. They're like, this honky going into here, like it's just.
They also
so-
like they clearly wanted to say motherfucker a lot, but they just changed it to mother. Like, who is
Yeah.
this mother? Who is this mother? You mothers! Like they kept saying mother a lot, and I'm like, the era where they couldn't just say motherfucker. You get one shit, I think, in this entire movie,
Yeah.
and it's the elderly white woman on the plane who's like, "We shit," with like the
The
crazy glasses.
only parts of these movies, the only parts of this movie that aren't like racist or weird or whatever are the parts where Bond is by himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I was looking a little bit. We were chatting about how close is this to the blaxploitation genre, and you were right. They really did try to, because this was made at the height of it when it was being done in film. And like the interesting fact is, Rosie Carver is the first African American Bond girl, and she's a villain in disguise. Like, she's not even someone that he can trust, or you know. And the idea that it's all based around drugs, which was something they did in almost every black.
And not even a successful villain.
No, a terrible one.
Isn't it also kind of implied that she's being forced to do it?
Yeah,
There's a lot.
yeah, a
of
little bit.
implication.
Yeah.
I thought
Like
that was the case because she's kind of like, they made me do this.
Scared
But
of Samedi too. Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
whenever his hat shows up, she freaks out.
And that's why they killed her, because she was going to spill the secrets, but they were threatening to kill her if she didn't participate and bring
Yeah.
Bond along. CIA just needs to test these people better.
We go into the Harlem Club now. He makes it there. He orders a drink and some information. They put him in a booth.
he orders a 65-cent hot dog. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah, well, did you notice that French fried potatoes are 45 cents? Bring me back to that world. So when he turns,
Jason orders on Uber Eats 150 hot dogs.
I had a
I can freeze these.
when he references the scene later and is like, no, not against the wall. I had a bad turn at a table against the wall because this table turns. It was just
But then they get him again later in a similar
With the-
thing where he's standing on the
goes down.
platform that goes
Or,
down.
yeah, like, oh my god.
all of the budget to this movie went to elevators in and out of.
it's true.
Maybe those elevators were created by Automatic.
Yeah,
Oh, I like that.
the elevator.
But he-
magnet. Yeah.
He does meet Miss Solitaire at this point, and meets he meets old Butterfingers, old Butterhook, Tiki, and
Butterfingers.
Butterhook.
Butterhook,
Oh,
and
man. I'm just
we
picturing
do
what a character named Butterfingers in the James Bond universe would be.
He just said, oops. He's
Yeah.
always like, oops.
Oopsies.
Oopsie. He's like, well, he's like
James Bond
Bond's
tries
like,
to grab him and he like
hanging-
slips out of him. Like Bond's like, what the? And he's like,
he's oiled up.
like Bond's hanging from something, and he's like, oh, hopefully nobody hits this button that would descend you into the shock pit. Oops. You know?
Yeah, that's actually a great Bond villain. It's already
It's
better
a lot
than
of.
this.
He's always doing this. He's always like, "Ooh, what is going on?"
And we know
over
that
here?"
traditional Bond villains, or like villains, commonly have a femininity to them as a way to other those characters. So that would be perfect.
Yeah. He's got like the
True.
Trump hands the whole time. He's just always making little doing little things with his hands and talking.
Donald, yeah, the Butterfingers villain would just be a Donald Trump style, like the American from the Timothy Dalton movie we watched, but he's more like
Yeah, my
so
plan
greasy.
is the best
Yeah.
plan. A lot of people are saying my plan is the best plan. No other plans
They
are being.
keep talking about how my plan is the best. But yeah, so we
Alligators,
also,
they can eat without go without food for a whole year,
Yeah.
a whole entire year. They don't.
200
eat.
years, the best 200 years they live.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
got
Go
more,
ahead.
got some more Trump.
No, I think we're.
Uh,
Well, I got more. No, the Gulf
The-
of Mexico.
The Gulf of America.
Yeah.
We do get
We're
a
gonna have
get
a beautiful shot of boats. It's gonna go on for 25 minutes, 25 glorious minutes. of
Glorious
boats
minutes,
chasing
every-
magic.
all the other states of the world are talking about our boat
There will
scenes.
be a character called Billy Bob, and he will be racism incarnate.
And they'll be solitaire. She'll be beautiful, beautiful girl.
Beautiful girl. We do get a quick glimpse of Mr. Big through this, who I went, that's a person with a mask on, but not yet. I was like, that's a person who looks incredibly strange.
I
Yeah.
immediately was
Later-
like, this is a white man in blackface, like monster makeup, and it's I'm
I
like,
said reverse white chicks. Reverse white chicks.
Yeah, because there's even something about the voice where it doesn't even sound remotely like Yaphet Kotto at that point, but later on it does sound like him. So I'm like, did they voice it over? This whole thing sounds 80 yard at this point, to be honest. But
Yeah.
At this point, we had already met so many characters that were caricatures that I was just like, yeah, next one. So like,
for me, because the way they shoot it from far away, the way it looks so spooky and weird, I'm like, that's gonna be like Christopher Walken with a black man mask on, and he's gonna be like,
It'd be awesome. It was.
Yeah.
He's the same character from what was his name? Max Oren. He's just like back
Yeah.
with the.
But I'm glad that's not the case. But that's what my fear immediately became. I was like, is this going to be that bad? And if so, why don't I remember this? Because I've seen this movie before. I think I would remember.
That would have
a
been
guy
so
ripping his
bad.
face
I
off.
That'd been so
forgot
bad.
that in the Disney Peter Pan, I forgot the role that the indigenous people played. Like I was
Tiger-
like, oh, it's
Tiger
just one
Lily?
song, and I'm like, it's the whole movie. I didn't remember that.
Tiger Lily.
Yeah, when they have to smoke the peace pipe or whatever.
No, it's throughout the whole movie.
No, I know. I remember. I remember.
I didn't, but yeah. So to your point, I wouldn't be
Hey, Noel.
surprised if you didn't
Hey, Noel.
remember.
My mind just
Hey-
erased it for me.
Hey
Like,
Noel.
what?
Hey Noel. Names is for tombstones, baby.
I love that line.
He orders them to take Bondo back and shoot him, and he pulls the lover's card.
And he says, "Look, it's us." Wah, wah, wah.
Ninjas his way out of the situation, and Harold Stutter, who I think is the guy who gets killed in the beginning, that is later in the movie. So I should let everybody know that the opening scene has the guy killed. One of the agents. He's murdered and he's put into a
3
cast.
people die.
Yeah, but one of them is, it's like whose funeral? Stab. That's actually like later in the movie, and it was just showing that.
No, it's
No.
just doing
No,
the same
it's at
thing.
the beginning
twice.
because all 3 of them died at the. They just killed another guy the same way.
What?
They do the exact same thing twice in the movie.
Yeah.
It's just one of their ways of murdering people.
Yeah,
Fake
and like it's a
funeral.
lot of accomplices. There's like
You
50
just you
people there.
distract people with a funeral procession that turns into a party.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's like
So-
100 people that are accomplices. Like that's a lot of people that are in on your murder scheme.
Did they actually kill the second guy though? Because didn't he telephone
They-
Felix later?
They don't show it, but I think it's implied it happens off screen because they're all partying and dancing, and that happens after you get stabbed, not before. So because
I was so confused about it.
yeah,
like-
it's a little bit. They don't show it, but the guy pulls the knife out, and then it cuts to a trumpet going like, and so I'm like that. To me, that implies that he was stabbed.
Then who called Felix?
I don't know. Maybe he didn't die. Maybe he called him from inside the coffin. He's like, I've been stabbed. I'm not dead though.
So what's interesting with that to me too is if you watch the television program Treme or know anything about Nolens, when somebody dies, they actually Nala, they actually do a full-on funeral procession where they march you down the street and everybody from around. What are you laughing at?
You stumbled on the word march, and I thought you were going to say where they murder somebody in the street and then have a party.
Yes. No, but but people come from their homes who are musicians because New Orleans is a very musical city, and you just join in the funeral procession, which I think is a really cool thing. If you didn't watch the show Treme, it's actually very good. It's by the guy who made The Wire, which is an interesting take, but it's basically post-Katrina New Orleans and how it's affected all their lives. And it's very, like, a lot of the characters will like go to these funeral processions, and it's very well done. It was a very good show.
When I was, I must have only been like 14 or so. Like I was pretty young. I was there with my family, but, and I don't know if we were there for like a specific reason, but it was very party. Like it was a party. The whole time I was there every night was.
You mean the city that has Mardi Gras in it was a party town?
But I don't think we were there for Mardi Gras.
The
Like
place they call the Big Easy.
when is Mardi Gras? is Mardi Gras like?
I think it's like
March or something.
Easter.
like the
Is it
end of the
Easter?
spring.
It changes.
It
It's-
changes. Okay,
It's Easter.
maybe I was there because I think I was there
Holidays
for spring break.
So Mardi Gras is the festival day before the 40-day fast, before the
Okay.
Passion, the week where Jesus be dying. So that's
be
the
dying.
whole.
Interesting. So maybe I was there for Mardi Gras. I saw a lot of tits. As a
Oh, good.
14-year-old gay boy, it was terrifying.
Hopefully, it didn't warp you in any way.
ladies, put them away. More beads, though. Can I have some more beads, please?
It straightened me right out.
You're like, is there a guy version of this anytime coming up?
It's way more illegal than boobs.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah. So we get a sort of a hint at Baron Samedi because the guy
He just laughs a lot in the corner. He's like, ah, ha, ha, ha.
yeah, Bond is walking through the park. It's like a different person, right? But I think it's just like a foreshadow kind of moment where he's just like, that guy's kind of strange, but he's also part of like the more it's more of he's seeing people perform. It's like more of a performance version of it versus what we see later, which seems very cult. And
Yeah, he's at like a resort or whatever. He's just doing like they paid him to be there. You know, they're like,
exactly.
all right, Baron Samedi, $40. You're gonna do your
He's
creepy
like
laughing dance.
He's just like a stage
Yes.
actor that they hire on the weekends. Like he just moonlights playing Baron Samedi. Like the rest of the week, you can see him at his one-man show around the corner. Like,
So I was watching that part on one of my commutes, and I was just like somebody. It was like crowded, and people were watching. And I'm like, I can't be watching this in public.
You're like, it's for a podcast. I swear to God, I'm not.
I swear to God, I'm not a racist.
Don't worry,
I was
the
like,
other three people on the podcast are going to be white men.
Yeah, that's right. Let us weigh in on our opinion on how the sensitivity of their cultural
just-
representation is.
Really uncomfortable, but like not just the racism. Like there was everything was uncomfortable, starting with the racism
Right.
and then moving deeper into all of the imagery. And it was just like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I found that part to be.
it's not even like a
little
tunnel
much.
either, or like a pit of like despair that you're feeling with each and every moment of like awkward racism, sexism, misogyny, vile disruption of like cultural appropriation. But it's almost like you're falling into a pit and little pieces of you are breaking off and going into like spidering tunnels like outside of the roots to a horribly racist tree.
It's
Don't
just
worry,
not.
Steve. It gets worse.
It's not aesthetic. Like, let's remove that. It's not aesthetic. It's not pleasant. It doesn't add anything. Like, it's just a kind of a grating part. Like all movies, whether they're racist or not, like will have parts in it that just don't connect or don't work or like not the best movies. But like, and this just like adds nothing and goes on too long. So that's part of the pacing issue where like these scenes or I'm like, am I supposed to be enjoying this? Like,
There's like the moment where the guy
I'm
comes
supposed to
up-
enjoy a chase scene.
Yeah.
Yes.
The guy comes up, he crawls up on his arms or whatever, and then he starts doing like a weird pendulum torso movement. And I'm like, what's going on here?
I feel like I'm watching a banned Warner Brothers cartoon.
Yeah, like they
that's-
got rid of it.
that's-
Or like one of those cartoons on Disney Plus where at the beginning they're like, it was a different time. Like they put like a long page thing to read. being
Oh,
like,
yeah,
just remember this was made in the 40s and it might be really offensive now. But can I admit something embarrassing? When that like shower grate opens up for like a split second before the snake pops out, I'm like, it's gonna be that flexible guy. He's gonna be coming out.
I
He's
thought
like-
it would be somebody.
He's like
That,
the
like-
fluke man from X-Files. Like,
Yeah.
he's just that guy.
He's gonna be folded up in a suitcase.
Or,
I
what's
thought they
his
were
name,
going
Tooms?
to like do the little dart thing out of that, but that's a huge opening for a very small snake.
That's why I thought it was gonna be the foldy man coming out with his pelvic thrusts.
Yeah,
It's
the
like
guy-
whatever.
Remember the X-Files episode was the squeeze? The guy that like would kind of get into the tiny little things? Like that guy, it'd be him. He just squeezes his way out.
Yeah.
But
See
you know
guy
the
that
scene
makes the
in
paper mache hovels.
Yeah, he's making like
His
like
name
a
is
nest.
Tombs, guys.
Tombs, yeah, because he was in 2 episodes. He's played by Doug Hutchinson.
Yeah. Famous, notorious pervert,
Oh.
Doug Hutchinson. Yeah.
Look, just because he's a 6-year-old man who married a 17-year-old with him doesn't mean
Not only did he marry a 17-year-old, he moved her specifically to Las Vegas so that he could take advantage of the younger marriage consent laws there.
Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
he did.
so the snake.
Yeah, we're
Coming
talking
out of the
about him. His name
wall.
is Tombs. Yeah.
All right, so this Doug Hutchinson expose podcast is going well. We're really getting into the thick of it here. Sorry,
But
continue.
about the snake, it was super phallic though when it was just a shot of it like perfectly straight, kind of like going like winding its or like just its way down, slithering its way down. But like, why in that scene in the Phantom Menace where they just put the two little like bugs into the
Yeah, yeah.
thing, like it's just the
Attack of the
most.
Clones, but yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I just had to correct you. That's what I do.
you got it correct.
Fuck my life.
Star Wars.
It's actually
Jones
Attack
over
of the.
here.
Yeah, I'm very passionate about Attack of the Clones. Thank you.
I don't have time to get into my thoughts about that. But they're very similar to the thoughts that I have about how I took my DVD of oh my god, what's it? Bear God. Keep talking about something else. Oh,
Bear
a whole-
Insanity?
they use so much budget to have a whole labyrinth thing for a tiny snake. That was the only
Oh, right, yeah. It probably
It
cost.
makes
a lot
you
of money.
wonder, like, how much someone had to fight for that. Like, the director's like, I really need this scene.
need it.
It's got to.
It's
This
an
the
homage.
movie
But-
will not
Nothing over
work.
a tarantula.
I will walk if we don't get the snake scene.
But that was the most gripping and engaging scene for me of this whole movie. I was like, what's the snake gonna do? And like the mirror tilting, and like, is he gonna see the snake? And then like the guy coming in with the champagne, and I'm like, what about the snake? And then it looks like they like tied the curtain to the snake's back so that when it was like
Moved it back.
slithering, the
Yeah.
curtain was
Didn't get away.
So you,
I was
you-
really invested in that, and then like to finally find him, and then like him.
So
But like that,
you've moved forward to the hotel, right? So before that, he uses a gadget to find bugs around the room, and at the end of the scene that you were just talking about, I thought it was really interesting that he uses the cigar. Why does Roger Moore's Bond in this movie seem to just be smoking the most comically large cigar
It's a very
constantly?
big cigar.
because
the
he's a
other one-
funny guy.
Yeah, he wants to go after every pun. He's gonna go, yeah, you see. But I mean, the other Bond smokes
everything's
cigarettes.
his penis in this. It's all phallic. It's just
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Snakes. It's all.
I also wrote, just walk away from the snake. Don't you know to do all that?
It's
He's so
moving really
freaked out.
slowly.
Yeah.
Like he could have just put he probably could have picked the waste paper basket and put it on top of it. Like he just
Yeah.
like
I
he
thought he
has
was
to-
gonna stomp on it for a second. I'm like, is he just gonna stomp it like right on its head? Is that what's gonna happen? No, but then he
No.
flamethrowers it, which
Yes.
is insane. It also looked like it might have been real, the snake that got burnt. I was like, did they
Do you
burn
know-
a real snake?
Do you know
I
what the
hope not.
Daniel Craig Bond would have done? he would have whipped out one of those like hooks and like tamed the snake and then wrapped it up in a pillowcase and then like you'd see
Throw
it
it at someone
later
else
like
later,
in a
yeah.
little terrarium and or like have it in his bag and be like, that guy found a snake.
Yeah.
Well,
really
we
good.
meet Mrs. Bond, aka Rosie Carver. She warns Bond of the waiter because there's the whispers bend in the room at this point, and she's CIA, and it's her second mission.
Her first mission
Her
was the
first
dead
mission
guy.
was the guy, the guy that got killed. So
She's
Bond
kind of
immediately
proud
is
of it. She's
like,
like, my first mission was that guy, and it's like, well, like
Well,
you
I
got,
can't remember
he's
the
dead.
joke he makes, but
Oh yeah, and then he says something like his looking like because he makes a joke about how the
her
outcome
track
would be the same
record.
for him. Yeah.
so Bond naturally tries to immediately put the moves on her, and she's like, "No way!" But then she sees a hat, and she's like, "I can't be alone tonight." And then I think they,
Yeah, and Bond's like,
Felix
okay.
Leiter warned her, and what was it, to resort to cyanide pills?
Yeah,
Yeah.
instead of having sex with him.
Whatever you do, don't fuck Bond.
Kill
The-
yourself,
yeah.
That's
bitch.
like, that's like the first thing they teach you in spy school. It's like, all right, lesson number one.
If you ever run into
even the guys
007,
in it-
make sure you kill yourself before he has sex with you, because the diseases you will get will be far more painful than death. Believe me, I'm
There's
aware.
been like 25 of these films, and in each film he bangs at least 3 women. That's 75 women. That alone will get you chlamydia.
Yeah,
His
well, legally.
penis is a death sentence, though. Like, you sleep with him, you're probably
Fan
gonna
theory.
die.
A fan theory where James Bond has AIDS. Right. How about his blue powder suit
How about it?
I like it.
with the low cut tank top underneath? I thought
I
that was
would wear that. I would wear that.
I like, yeah, and then later on he gets rid of the tank top. It's just the suit, yeah, and like. Yeah, I
Didn't
like-
Ian Fleming's actual tailor do the tailoring for the early Bond?
Oh, maybe. I don't
Probably.
know.
That's a good.
Like, that's a very, very important thing to the Bonds, is their haberdashery.
Is James
Yeah.
Bond a Ian Fleming self insert? Does he think that he is James
He'll
Bond?
self-insert a lot.
Actually,
Oh,
the
man.
room. The
Yeah.
rumor
That sounds like
is-
another good henchman name. Self-insert.
I like that.
I can do it
Ew.
myself.
The rumor is that the rumor is that Ian Fleming based, because he used to be roommates with Christopher Lee, and that Ian and they were like friends in college or something, and that Bond
Sorry,
was
did you say he was lovers with Christopher Lee?
I
roommates.
thought they were cousins.
Oh,
or they're related in some manner, and that like Christopher Lee, because Christopher Lee was in MI6, and he was like actually did missions and actually like during World War II, and there's rumors that he was part of a secret group that would hunt down Nazis and kill them.
And killed.
So, yeah, so like Bond was supposedly inspired by Christopher Lee specifically, and
Yeah.
Lee was actually going to play him, or he was offered the role but turned it down.
He is in
um,
one.
He is in one as a villain, but
Yeah,
that why
yeah,
Christopher Lee in that Lord of the Rings movie, when Peter Jackson was like, "You
Yeah.
have to scream,"
Yeah.
and he's just like, "Have you ever been stabbed?"
No, what
he's
he
like,
says-
this
no.
is what someone would sound like if you stabbed them
What
in
he
the back.
says is, Peter, do you know the sound a man makes when he's stabbed in the back? Peter Jackson's like, I don't know. And he's like, well, I do.
Yeah,
As soon as you get cut, as soon as you start to lose blood, your body naturally breathes in because it wants to conserve oxygen because it knows that you're about to lose a whole bunch through your blood.
yeah.
There's also a great moment in the Lord of the Rings special features where Christopher Lee is attempting to walk up a very small flight of stairs, and he's like,
I can't
Peter,
go down
I can't
these
get up
steps
this goddamn
smoothly.
damn stairs.
smoothly. He's like, I can't get down these goddamn stairs smoothly, Peter. I can't do it.
I also love when he's like, that's not how a man would like. That's not what a man sounds like when he's stabbed in the back. And it's like he's also not a man; he's a wizard, and we're in a world of orcs. Like, whatever. One of my favorite lines from that movie. I think it was Elijah Wood or someone was talking on a podcast about how, like, they filmed all those outdoor scenes at night, the big war outside, and how you can still see everything. There's like a blue light and lighting in the right spots to make sure you can see what's going on. And during the filming, I think Elijah Wood was talking to the cinematographer, and he's like, well, where does the light come from? Like during the night scene, and then the cinematographer looked at Elijah Wood and smiled and said, "The same place the music comes from." It's a movie. You got to let it go.
Yeah. That's what we did a lot for this one. They take a boat.
Oh, the boat.
But where does
She's
all the
changing-
heroin come from? The same place all the music comes from. What do you think?
Also do this heroin and you can see the music. I really liked this segment because we think that so they walk down the pier, Bond kicks a man to wake him up to get onto the boat. When they go out onto the water, Bond is fishing for some reason. And Rosie is like, where can I change into my bikini? And the boat driver is like down there. She gets down there, she opens up a cabinet, it's got a bunch of spy shit, and we come back up and she's like, he's a spy. And then it's revealed that from the very first Bond movie, there's a character called Quarry, who is a great character who dies tragically. Quarrel dies tragically. We talked about it at great length when we covered Dr. No a couple weeks ago.
He gets
but
burned
this
by a giant flame-throwing tank. It's horrifying.
it's true.
And then his son immediately gets thrown into danger as well. He's like, I want to die the way my
Also,
dad did.
Quarrel in the first movie, not a secret agent. He's just a boat driver.
Just a
He's
guy.
just the captain of a ship. Yeah, that's all. he
Loves Red Stripe.
Yeah.
And yep,
He's
it's
a Jamaican
Quarrel
man
Jr.
who has no Jamaican accent at all, and Quarrel doesn't either. So I'm like, where is? I don't know.
He's
You
like,
can be
Lord have
Jamaican
mercy.
without an accent.
But living there, you'd think you would have one if you're like.
Okay,
living
that's
in-
a little different.
the movie is set in Jamaica.
Sorry. I should, yeah, correct. Noel's wrong.
Then we're introduced to a really interesting character trait of the villain when it goes over to the mansion because they can see Kananga's mansion, and we see that Mr. Big or Kananga or whatever, we'll find out that he is both characters later. He does everything in his life based off of Solitaire's tarot readings, which I think is a cool villain quirk.
It is cool, but it's weird for a Bond movie. Like, it's so strange because there's no magic in any other James Bond movie except this one. I think, as far as I'm aware.
But
So-
tarot's not real.
I don't think magic comes up.
She's
all that
clearly real. She's like, he's coming by boat. He's coming
Until
by
he gets-
plane.
Until she gets
Do you know
bullied.
Do you know my favorite part about that is? He can look out the window and see that Bond is coming by boat.
Yeah.
And it's right there and it's happening as she's saying it. I'm like,
Maybe
She's
she's just
just
making
getting-
really accurate guesses.
somebody at the front of the front of the estate is like, Solitaire. He's currently in the boat. He's
Got
like,
your
he's in the boat.
He's in boat now, and
A
now
man
he's
is
coming up
coming
the
that does
stairs. I
violence.
pulled the stairs card. He's coming up the stairs right now.
It's a man that does violence coming in a boat. It's
It was just so because there's no allure, there's no magic, there's no mystique because he's right there.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, Baron Samedi is kind of magical as well. He shows up as a ghost on the front of the train at the end somehow. I don't know.
yeah.
What I mean to say is that there's no magic in any other James Bond movie, but this movie really just has a bunch of magical shit happening. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily against it. I'm just kind of like, it's so strange for this 8th James Bond movie to all of a sudden decide that magic
I have
is-
no context either because this is as a grown adult man. This is the 3rd James Bond movie I've seen, and the first one was the first one, and the second one was the 15th one.
And Dr.
Which
No
is
is
so
the
grounded.
best one.
It's
So
very
you
good.
Started as a Bond movie, everything that you want out of Bond, all encompassing. We're just talking about cinematography, whatever. It's just the Bond movie. The first one, it's the best one. So you started at the best one.
Well, I need to start at the beginning. All of the so if you're just tuning in this whole month, we're doing it like Grimoire style, where we're doing the first one of each Bond. We were gonna do them more in order, but we had to.
Not a shot against you or the way that you did it. It's just you just started big,
Yeah.
which is how are you to know?
We didn't just randomly pick four big Bond movies. We specifically did the first ones of these first 4 Bonds.
It's
we're
like
gonna do,
starting
a-
Spielberg month at Jaws.
Fine. Well, he's got movies before that though, right?
but that's his
Yeah.
best one. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's like if you started a Spielberg month with Jaws and then you watch Big, or the
Yeah, I mean, we did
Yeah.
Carpenter month with just like we just kind of picked randomly.
That one was
Whereas
all over
this
the
one
place.
has more logic to it, I guess, because we did Doctor No, we did the first James Bond, and then we did last week we did the first Timothy.
The
Dalton.
first
This is the
Dalton.
This is the first more, and then next month,
and then the only Lazenby.
The only
The only
Lazenby to finish the month off.
which means we'll get a new Bond next time we do this.
Mhm.
Da-da-da.
Brosnan. I think some,
Oh, come and get your golden fucking eye. It's up in space.
feminist masterpiece
So-
theater. Let's just do another Bond month. The antithesis of feminist.
I
masterpiece
agree
theater.
with both of you that it is a fun villain quirk, and like these Bond villains are really quirky, but it also is really out of place and un-Bond-like.
Mhm.
I mean, the
At
man
the
with the golden gun
same
isn't the whole
time.
thing. Like, if he shoots you once with that gun, you die somehow. Like, it just instantly
Yeah.
kills you.
Played Golden.
They're
That's what
all-
it was in the
Played with the
Bond.
Golden
That was
gun.
in the video game. The gun didn't.
I
do
mean,
anything like that.
In
okay.
Gold, in Goldfinger, he gold plates women. Like they have these, like it's weird. It's always weird, but it's never magical.
Didn't she
so
die
I,
in
like,
real life, or is that an urban myth?
It's
I
an
don't know,
urban
Doc.
legend.
Mhm.
She
I
did
feel
not
like we
die.
would know more about that.
You're like, oh my god, we
Right.
filmed the whole scene. She got real life skin suffocation or whatever the fuck they say in the movie that makes no sense whatsoever. But then I
Oh, yeah.
believed it for years.
But in real life, she had
Also,
a
like-
small square.
Did
that
they just
wasn't
like knock
painted.
her out and then spend a lot of time painting her? Like it'd be like it's what a waste of time.
Yeah.
All right, make
He's a
sure you get
pervert.
every single. Yeah, I guess so. Oric,
Fingers
All
are
right, all right.
golden paint because he
Oric Gold. When your name's Oric Goldfinger, you're designed to be a bad guy. Like it's like
It's true.
your parents like he'll definitely going to be a supervillain someday. It's like all the.
It's like if your
superhero
name was
villains.
Elon Musk or something.
Yeah, like Victor. Like his name's Victor Freeze. Of course, he can become a Freeze-based villain named Mr. Freeze eventually.
Yeah.
Like
Arlene Quinzel.
Victor Von Doom.
they really reached for that one. They're like, we got to
Mr.
make it
Von
kind of like
Chester.
Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
listen,
Agreed.
you guys. We gotta move it along a little bit here. So Rosie, it seems like she can't get her story straight.
They get to the island.
Bond wants to stop for lunch. They bang again. He revealed so earlier.
Well,
he
wait,
got-
we get another. Don't we get another? Oh wait, no. Am I thinking later? Isn't there another Baron Samedi moment where they go through the graveyard? Or is that later?
that's
That's later.
later.
Okay.
Way later.
I want to talk about that once we get to it, but yeah, we'll move on.
We may never.
I know.
So anyway, they bang again. He reveals that the
Please make love.
The Queen of Cups is a liar and a cheat, and he's saying that like you are the Queen of Cups. He holds a gun to her head and demands answers. Then they see some voodoo stuff, and she tries to run off, but one of the voodoo heads has cameras and guns and shoots her dead.
This is when
And-
the soundtrack itself becomes subtly racist, where I was like, oh my god.
And this is the amazingly misogynist line. Like, you wouldn't kill me after what we did. I wouldn't kill you before.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, of course I'm
And
gonna have
then
sex with you
the
before
movie-
I kill you.
And then the movie takes care of that, and you don't actually have to see Bond do anything because the villain kills her.
Yeah.
It's like when you're Dominic Toretto and you accidentally knocked up the Brazilian woman, but you're actually in love with the woman who comes back, so she conveniently just dies.
Yeah,
Just
we need,
wrap that up. Just take care.
we need to make it sure that it's not morally complex. We need to make it that its decisions are all very easily understandable.
Mhm.
She also
Can't have
runs.
it-
She runs away comically. Like the way she runs off is like she has her hands out and she's like,
Yeah.
"Ah!"
Yeah, it's pretty goofy. She's like, ah! It's like Kermit the Frog. You're like, ah!
Yeah.
When he's like, it's ridiculous.
But then like
This is a very goofy movie.
yeah, but then like every time the music cuts back to her, there's like this very deep like bass drum playing. But when it goes to Bond, it doesn't have it, and it made me super uncomfortable. Like, oh god,
yeah,
this is not great.
She's black, so it's got to be drums and like sound like it's
Yeah,
in
it
the
was-
jungle. It's
it was
ridiculous.
too much. It was too much. I was like, even the soundtrack is getting problematic here. But
Even the music is.
the music is racist.
Yeah.
I guess
I
you
wanna
could
talk
argue
about-
that she's scared of the jungle and the music is meant to represent the jungle. Maybe I don't know, but it's just felt horribly wrong.
I agree.
After she dies, it cuts back over to Solitaire, who is now in full villain
Her name.
regalia. She's sitting in like her tarot table, but she's got like a crazy headdress on.
She's got a
She's
fucking
got
Queen
a
Amidala
throne.
costume on, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, is that the chair? Is that part of the chair? And then later she like cerebros herself out.
Yeah.
Of it. Like,
She looks-
Yeah, it's like the body is like an Iron Maiden type thing, and yeah, Cerebro is the best.
She looks like
Voodoo
yeah, when-
Cerebro.
when she takes it off, it goes diddle and I was like, oh wow.
She looks
And
like
she's
Ming-
bald.
Yeah, she has no hair. Jeez.
She looks like Ming the Merciless from Flash Gordon. Like it's just ridiculous. Like
But somehow
goofy.
more racist.
Yeah, somehow. Yeah, somehow.
So she's in a very culturally appropriate setup, doing master tarotism.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do these two meet each other? I'd be curious to know that backstory.
Their
Like,
mother, her mother,
did- Oh, did they?
her
mention
mother
that?
was the tarot reader.
Oh, right.
before.
Was the
Yeah.
previous
Oh
tarot reader.
yes, yeah.
But how did she get involved with this guy? Like,
I
anyways.
assume
So
that
then we have
she
to-
probably lived there with
I
them,
gave you
right?
this power, and I can take it away.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the power
By
only works as long as
boinking
you don't
you.
have sex. Yeah.
Boinking.
No, that's
Yeah.
how he would take it away.
Yeah.
Did you not get that part?
Yeah.
No, I got it.
He would
I'm
grape
not gonna
her.
love you, bitch.
Yeah. There was like
So-
a part of me that wanted to believe that like he was protective of her for a good reason, but as soon as he backhands her, then you're like, oh no.
And then
No.
later on, when he's like, I would have taken the power, like, I would have given you love or passion or whatever. Like, it wasn't even like,
Eventually when I didn't
yeah,
need you
eventually when I
anymore,
didn't
yeah.
need you
I didn't need you
anymore. It's
anymore.
like when you use up your usefulness to me, then I'll have sex with you.
Yeah.
But you have to ask yourself at this point, where's Bond? What's he up to? Oh, he's hang gliding. He's just doing a hang
Smoking a
glide.
cigar
That
while he's
stunt where he doesn't like in a contemporary action movie, he would like both feet right in the chest to the guy who here he like kind of like his toe kind of flicks the top of his head as he's kind of falling.
yeah. That guy
It's so all of these old movie action things are just so charming to me that
Yeah.
like people like Bond now is like a ninja, but like he was just like a guy in a suit who like some of the when at the beginning when he like pulls down the fire escape and does a kick, I'm like, that's actually rather athletic for a Bond
Holy
of this
moly.
time.
Roger Moore.
Well,
Roger Moore's
when he
doing it for
lands,
me here.
after he takes the guy out, he pulls off track pants, which I thought was hilarious. Did they have like is that a
He's a
Bond
tearaway
gadget?
sneaky
He has yeah,
reversible jacket.
he takes off the jacket, tears away his pants, and so he's got like a nice white set.
Yeah, it's like a
like-
khaki suit, and then which is like you're like, oh, is he
Tie.
gonna blend into a party or something? And it's like, no, he just wanted to have a different costume for when he gets there.
No, in fact, you know what
you
he does
can't
next?
go to the party with a black outfit.
He
So you
No
just-
party. There is no
He
party
in-
though.
He infiltrates the mansion, is caught sitting in Cerebro,
Mhm.
and then
It
does
jump
the
cuts
worst
to that.
does the worst thing I've ever seen in a Bond movie to date, where
Of the
he,
three
like,
you've seen.
Yep, he reads her tarots, and he pulls the lovers card first, and she's like, "Oh, well, that means we have to have sex." And then, as they're about to
No,
have
no, no.
sex, he throws the
He
tarot
says,
deck
"Pick a
down.
card," and he puts out the whole deck, and she
Yeah.
picks one, and it's the lover. Then she's like, "Well, God wants me to have sex with you, or whatever the fuck." Or what? No, she pulls out the card, she looks at it, and it goes, and then they have sex.
Yeah,
Okay, this is the
But as
crazy
he
part to me.
throws the deck down.
Which
It's
I'm
revealed.
pretty sure misrepresenting yourself or some situation is considered rape. And,
This is a
I-
form of
you know,
rape, yeah.
so yeah.
That's
Bro,
what
that
I'm
was the
saying.
most
All the
creative
cards
coercion.
were
like-
lover tarots.
Stop talking at the same time, please. I can't understand either of you when you do that.
All the cards were tarot that said lover. He did what Andre said.
Where does he get those though? Like, where did he find a
Yeah.
whole deck of lover
That
tarot
was
cards?
that was the
You-
confusing part to me too. I was like, how did he get all those lover cards?
Q earlier in the movie that we didn't see? Q had this stack, and he's like, "Use this. You'll know what to do with them."
Someday,
007, I've made a tarot card deck that with the press of a button, all of the cards will turn into one singular card to trick any psychic you may run into.
He was just
Alright.
picking up the cards, just collecting them from tarot decks throughout the course of the
Yeah,
movie.
he went
Just
to
stealing
he
Her
went all
lover's
over
card
the-
every single time. And she's like, where'd it go? And like pulls out her new tarot deck.
Right.
The part that, and this is I should not be worrying about this, but why does Solitaire, like, he doesn't read tarot? Why is Solitaire taking his tarot reading?
In fact, by this point in the movie, she's already been like, you can't read the cards, because earlier I think Kananga pulls a death card and she's like, that's not kosher.
But he can, because he knows what the upside down Queen of Cups is.
Right, yeah.
Well,
This all
she
over the place.
I don't think she.
I wrote,
does.
what a gross man.
Yeah.
Oh, and she was a virgin. And by having sex with her, destroys her powers, allegedly.
Well, I mean, I think we proved that she did when she couldn't pass the test.
Yeah.
But at least
the
Bond
MPA
admits it.
again.
At least Bond admits it through this. She's like, well, I turned the whole deck into lovers cards. And she's like, yeah, but we still had sex. I was a virgin. I was a virgin.
He's like, I know, yeah.
He was like, yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
He's like, nice. Yeah, he's high fiving some fucking other stupid Asians hanging around.
Yeah. He high fives Kananga.
Yeah, he fives Kananga. Or Felix, like Felix walks by and he's like,
Or he
definitely.
high-fives
Yeah.
the guy with the robot hand. He high fives his robot hand.
ding, yeah, just
Oh
ding.
my God.
Terrible.
That's why he went into the occult store. He was buying up all of their
He's like,
tarot decks.
Can I buy
Yeah.
500 decks? How many cards are in a tarot deck? Can I get 26 cards, please?
I have a tarot deck somewhere.
I
Oh,
drew
man,
a
he
tarot
didn't
deck.
bring that
once.
out. I mean, we could have had you do all of our tarots, and we know
No
way
way.
how we're gonna get Bond's gonna kill us.
It's a Jane Austen tarot deck.
Oh, that's even better. We'll know how Mr. Darcy's gonna show up and who he's gonna marry him.
Okay. So she's freaking out a little bit
My
about
brain,
this.
for some reason, switched Jane Austen with Agatha Christie, and I was like, "What?" So I like put all these Agatha Christie characters onto tarot
That's
cards
right.
in my
It's-
brain.
all of the cards killed him.
Yeah, Poirot. Yeah, every single card got it.
She's
Sorry, go
freaking
ahead.
out. She's freaking out a little bit about the situation, and Bond is basically like, "I have a boat. You could be on it, and I just need to know what's happening in Voodoo Land." But he also starts to give her like these rules. He's like, "There's a few rules for lovers. The lovers' rules. First rule, of course, no secrets. Rule number 2 is togetherness." And I pulled a clip. I pulled a little clip to see here. Okay. Rule number 3.
It's the time before we leave for lesson number 3.
Absolutely. There's no sense in going off half-cocked.
We always got to go full cock.
Cock,
if you know
yeah.
what
And they
The
bang
movie
again.
is so funny.
There's a lot of like, I love it in the opening too of this when like the girls hide in the closet and then they're all like, you need to, they're like, you got to get on a plane right away, Bond. And then he's like, still like, oh, I got time to have sex one more time. like it's just, they're like, you got to get there, like waste no time. And he's using this magnet, like they just squeeze in a lot.
I mean,
of, like, we have 5
even-
seconds. Let's have
yeah.
sex quick.
Even the first Doctor No, where he's like, "Well, I need to leave right now, actually," and she's like, "Right now," and he's like, "Well, we've got 45 minutes. Let's go."
Or in the Timothy Dalton one where he's like, "I have to be there in an hour," and she's like, "I wish I could meet a man," and he's like, "Well, maybe 2 hours."
Yeah.
What are you gonna do on a train for 16 hours? Oh, we haven't gotten there.
Yeah. We're going to have sex 150 times.
Go.
That's the sound it makes when he fucking gets to that point.
Yikes.
Ejaculation. That's the word
Oh.
that I censored myself on. You're welcome, everybody. There's also a fourth.
We're all
Ejaculation.
adults here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say ejaculation sounds like a weird global
That's a
conglomerate.
Bond villain.
Yeah, like ejaculation, but like an organization, you know, like
Oh no, that's a book title.
Like
a comic book
Smirsh?
title.
Sector.
a fracking company or whatever.
That's a
is gonna
comic
use
book title. You got to get on that.
Ejaculation.
Ejaculation. I would read that comic.
It sounds like an indie comic that would
Yeah.
appear in a Kevin Smith movie.
100%.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, or Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith bid on a podcast.
It's like an underground radio station. Welcome to Ejaculation, where we burn down the institution.
Now here's Tubular Bells.
It's like it all sounds like the most like guy like ultra metal like goofy thing, and then all of a sudden it's like
here's Tubular Bells.
Tubular Bells.
It's the Exorcist soundtrack for 18 hours on loop.
Yeah.
Listen, I the Dalhousie radio station in Halifax when I was a teenager, my friend was like a DJ, I guess, but we just were able to go in there sometimes and put records on the radio. But, you know, I can't remember what the radio station's called.
Hey, Mr. DJ, put a record on.
And I remember listening to literally Tubular Bells on that, and also putting on just like whatever I could find in like the stacks. We were just like doing mushrooms and being on the radio, but like 9 people were listening. Hey, there's 9 people listening to this. It's like I'm back in the Dalhousie days.
Why is this podcast still on again?
I'm from Halifax because we talk a lot. Listen, they
It's
set
so
it
much
into
fun, though.
Rule 1, okay. Lesson 1 was no secrets. Lesson 2, togetherness. Lesson 3, bang. Lesson 4, follow
Penelope
the
Bang Bang.
statue.
I'm telling you, Penelope Bang Bang is a good name.
It is.
That down. Bang, bang. So they walk out into the jungle. He's giving them. I wrote the lessons down here earlier too, and I wrote, "Are you sure Terra Lady's 18?" Because she's looking pretty young, but I think we covered that. They ventured to like a
you
farm.
covered that over and over. again.
Bond
You
looks
just
like
stopped
he's like
bringing it up.
Bond looks like he's like 30.
How old is Jane Seymour
20.
This
in
movie?
this?
She's
20?
20 in the movie.
This was her first movie, I think.
Well, I looked at her IMDb, and she
She's on
actually
some
had a.
But not
She had a
movies on it.
few things before it, but nothing.
It
This
says
was her.
I assumed it was her first.
It's her 8th movie. Oh no, sorry, it's her 5th movie. But she did some TV. But you know, she was probably. I think she was a child actor.
This one is them introducing her as the ingenue.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah,
She's
this was her debut into the
Her debut.
her Okay, listen. They venture into a farm area. It's an opium farm, poppy farm. They get shot at. Mr. Big wants them dead. They escape via bus. We get that big chase with the bus. Bond takes the top off a bus under an overpass, and the local police are like in the pocket of Mr. Big. And as he drives under the overpass, the top of the double-decker bus falls directly down onto the cop car. The cop car goes into the water. I thought that was great. I thought that was good. Probably spent a lot of money on that moment.
I like that the two cops, as they know that there's a low bridge, so they're like, they look at each other like, we got him now. But it's like, have you seen him driving? Like he doesn't give a fuck unless she's in the top. He's not gonna stop.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd also
If he was driving at the top, like if that's where the driver's seat was, then you can chuckle.
I'd also like to point out that they make it to a boat. They make it back to Quarrel's boat and get out of there. And there's a bit of foreshadowing where they look back at the water and there's like sharks circling. Yeah. And I was like, did they do that on purpose? Is this a shark? Is this a
I was
James
like, is
Bond
that going to
shark
go
movie?
anywhere? Like,
I thought maybe it was dolphins at first because, like, you know, he didn't seem worried or concerned. It just seemed like a weird random shot. I'm like, what? And then obviously by the end of the movie, it's like, oh, we have to establish that these waters are shark infested, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he had to source the sharks from somewhere. So
this movie, they couldn't they couldn't draw the line at being satisfied with having an alligator pit. They also had to have a shark.
of all the foreshadowing in this movie, the continuity that was most important to them was the sharks.
We have to. We can't just have the sharks show up at the end on a tropical island.
We need to lay the groundwork for this very important.
Listen, we're spending $7 million on this picture. All right, we need to show the sharks.
The shark costs $1 million.
Yeah. Done. Take it out
That
of
guy
Moore's
popping like a balloon probably cost.
They're probably like that. When did Jaws come out? Close to this, right?
It is.
It's 79, isn't it?
Oh shit! Way later then. I was going to be like, the Jaws
Wait, is it
movie's doing
79?
numbers. Let's do it.
What is this? Is 74, 73?
This is 73.
73.
Oh man, yeah. This is before Jaws hit it big.
75 when Jaws.
Wait, did we skip over Baron
Oh,
Samedi in the
75.
graveyard when he's playing his flute and then he pulls it out and it's like a fucking radio?
Oh,
Love that
you're
shit.
talking about. I
so
thought you were
much.
talking about the part where they put the hat down, but no.
No, I know that. I'm talking about when they just randomly find him during
right.
the day, and
No,
he's like,
they saw him. They saw him just like there. They haven't seen him
he's playing
again.
the flute. He's not just there. He's playing a flute in the graveyard, leaning up against the gravestone. And then when they leave, his flute turns into a radio, and he's like, "They're on their way," or he says something. It's the only time he actually has dialogue.
That's
in the
true.
whole
Yeah,
fucking movie.
yeah, I do remember that.
The reason I want to bring it up is because for some reason, I think it's the way they've painted his eyebrows and just like his presence feels very Tim Curry to me. I don't know if anybody else had this.
Yeah,
vibe
I get
from
that.
him,
I get that.
But like this whole movie, every time he showed up after this moment, I'm like, he's reminding me so much of Tim Curry, specifically like a Rocky Horror era Tim Curry.
Mhm.
And it just kept getting stronger and stronger until he had like the skull paint on his face at the end. But yeah, I don't know. And it kind of like made me all in on Baron Samedi. I'm like, I like him now. He's reminding me of Frankenfurter, and I'm down for it.
Is the is the
He's making
the
a man.
later also the pimp later also him?
Yes.
Is that Baron Samedi? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I wrote gay pimp. I'll get to that then.
I have a note here that just says gay pimp. I don't know what it means.
Everyone
It's
who's
okay.
laughing like that,
What were you going to say, Noel?
I don't remember, but I'll say this instead. In Annie, he does that laugh as well after he like the laugh that keeps showing up after he says that a child without courage is like a night without stars, and then he laughs wholeheartedly.
That's probably also another thing that was like layering the Tim Curry-ness on it, is his laugh is very boisterous and like flamboyant.
And Tim Curry is in Annie as well as Brewster.
True, right.
So
Yeah, I every time he was about to laugh, I was expecting it to be like,
What was that? That's a really good Tim Curry laugh.
Thank you.
I just got I collect Blu-rays and I just got the one for I think it was Vinegar Syndrome. Oh, shut up. Gosha, everything's cheaper here. So I am calling in from my very own house too. So yeah.
Oh my god.
No, I know. Jeez,
I'm calling from a barrel of a gun.
I'm living in the barrel of this gun right now. It's rent control. I'm subletting it from the previous person that was staying in the barrel of this gun. But I just recently they put in a special edition version of Congo, which has the delightfully unhinged Tim Curry performance in it.
Isn't he
with
like
the dive in.
Russian? Yeah.
Yeah, which is really funny.
He's like
Sorry, unhinged Tim Curry performance.
never heard of it. Yeah.
Get out of here.
Also, Muppet Treasure Island is just a joy.
Oh my god,
That
I
movie's
love
just a
that
joy.
so much. Yeah.
He is a Muppet.
Yeah.
It's true. Listen, they get onto a plane back to New Orleans. He gets the same cab driver from New York once
Yeah.
again.
And he's
Who works
only a
for Mr.
little bit
Big.
suspicious.
And that didn't tip him off.
Yeah, like you went, what?
He was
The door's
lovely.
locked.
He-
Also, the cab kind of gold, kind of like tinted more gold than a regular New York cab,
Yeah.
and then takes him right back to an airplane. And then
I mean,
I
they,
thought
ga-
they
they
were-
gave him like the craziest facial hair so that the audience could not mistake him for somebody else as well, right? Like they did that
Yeah.
purposefully. Like they
Like
gave him
the
sideburns that
sideburns,
connect to
yeah.
where they almost look like they're going to turn into a mustache, but they don't. Like it just stops. Like it's two arrows pointing to his mouth.
Those are era appropriate
They are, but you know,
facial hairs.
yeah, for sure. But they like, you know, no one else really in the movie has like wild ass facial hair. I think specifically so that we would be like, that's the same guy from before.
This
guy
was
who
the
said,
point
I'll
of the
suck your
movie.
dick at the cookout or whatever. Didn't he say that? I can't remember what he said.
Yeah, it definitely was "I'll suck your dick at the cookout." I think that's 100% what he said.
At this point in the movie was when I thought the movie was soon to be over, and I was very
No,
wrong.
there's still an hour left.
Yeah,
luckily
we
there's
still have an
a
hour.
35-minute.
Oh,
Right. So
Chase.
they're gonna try to take them back to New York, but instead we get plane. Here's how I wrote it: plane hangar hijinks.
This is another
and
part that I'm like,
shenanigans.
get it the fuck out of the movie. Just have them both get gassed in the back of the cab, and then they get separated. I'm fine with that. You know what the hell?
Yeah, but they
I
do
have a
have
question.
another like the great like chase around the hangar.
Great, it sucks. It's terrible, and it's not fun, and it's bad. The whole thing.
There's
is
a good
bad.
jump with another car jumps over a thing and crashes. There's a whole thing where
It's boring. It's very boring.
the airplane goes through and the wings get cut off. Remember Grand Theft Auto 3, the Dodo? I thought that might be a reference to this movie directly.
I have a question. Did she turn on him?
She pretends to turn on him so that he can escape.
She-
I think
She
it's
per- Okay, because I didn't catch the subtle nuance of that scene, but I think that this hangar scene would have been less draggy if they'd taken out all of the dancing racist voodoo scenes and just like sped that part up and gave us more hangar hijinks.
So you want more of this? You want
No.
hangar hijinks.
The same amount of hangar hijinks, just 40 minutes less of everything else.
Oh, I see. I thought you were.
And
asking
then
for
I think at that point, like that's why I was like, this movie is over soon, right? Because
Yeah.
it's the pacing issue there. So like I did like the hangar stuff because I like the silly things. I wasn't fast forwarding through these
only
parts.
thing that
I was
I
like,
like about
I wonder the wings are gonna get cut off too.
I like the old lady with her weird orange glasses and like being like,
She's
"Cool."
fantastic.
And she gets the one shit bomb in the whole movie. She only
What's her
gets-
name? Mrs. Wells?
Mrs. Bell, I think is her name. Mrs. Bell. Yeah, Mrs. Bell played by Ruth Kempf. And they do the classic, like, we're not gonna give her an outro line or anything. He just goes, "Well, I'll see you tomorrow, Mrs. Bell," and he leaves, and it's just like a cold shot in her face, like wide-eyed. Like that's how they cut the scene.
And then Felix Leiter tells you that she's in intensive care.
Yeah, but she's gonna pull
Yeah.
through. Yeah.
That's good.
For what was my question?
Stress. She just got really stressed out. She
She had a heart attack. That's
Yeah.
and an absent seizure. That's what she was staring at.
She
Like
hasn't
that.
seen that many people of color before in one area. She was
Oh my
very-
god. Oh
She's
my
in
god.
New Orleans.
She was terrified.
Yeah, she's never.
Oh my
she's never
god.
looked out a window in New Orleans.
No, just hangs around that, just doing shenanigans. Felix is there, you're right, and another guard gets click-clacked in the same way that another CIA agent gets click-clacked, but we don't see the whole thing this time. That's why I was confused. I thought it was like one of those like, here's something that happens later in the
Talking
movie.
about the funeral?
Catching up to it. Yeah, the funeral part that happens now.
So this is Strutter. Yeah, that first guy was like a white man who's like, he was like just hanging out there. This is
Okay.
Strutter. The
yeah,
character
Strutter gets taken out.
we meet in New York. Yeah,
So they go to another one of Mr. Big's.
and Noel
is
brought
this-
up earlier, like, do we know if he died? And I'm like, I assumed he did because we don't see him again and because
Right.
the party happens. But it's
But
never
who
really
calls
confirmed.
Felix on the phone?
I know. So this is the thing where it's like, I guess you can't really. It's coming from the same place the music is coming from. I guess is the answer.
This is a Bond film. That's why like it's so impossible for me to watch these movies critically because you sit back and you just let it happen to you. That's how you're supposed to watch these movies. It's like
Yeah.
Fast and Furious movies.
That's
Just-
how James Bond
just let
treats
it
all of his
happen.
girlfriends as well.
It's kind of like when you're attacked by a bear.
You,
and they
no. The girlfriends aren't letting it happen. That's the difference.
Oh, Jesus Christ. What are we going to say, Andre?
I was gonna say it's kind of like when you're being attacked by a bear and they tell you just to like turtle and just lay face down. That's what
Play
happens. You
dead.
just lay there and let the movie pot you for a while until it gets bored and moves on.
Right.
Yeah, it's-
That's how last week's movie played. The Timothy Dalton one played like that because there's so many things. Actually, Dr. No has so many weird political intrigue things happening that make no sense. This one was actually like didn't have that. It was much more like point A to point B to point C.
Yeah,
straight
It's
like
almost
forward.
too
it's not a great
simple.
story, but it makes sense. Like you can follow it. It's like okay,
Yeah.
there's some
I think
dumb
there's-
twist, but
Yeah, there's too little going on in this one.
I agree. I think
Sorry,
that-
there's a lot of stories happening, but like nothing's actually happening? Like the
And they're
plot.
not connecting, and they're not interesting. Really, is like the main problem.
No.
It's like the set
I-
pieces are interesting, but what's happening in the set
An
pieces?
hour in, I was like, "What is the conflict?" And then he's like, "I see, it's heroin." And I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
thanks for telling me because I would
And then-
never have figured that out."
Even the master plan, it's like makes it sort of like it's intriguing for a split second, and then it's kind of boring. Where you're like,
Yeah.
I don't really like
And
this.
they just don't bother with it anymore.
No, like you think there's gonna be a scene where he's like he has to dress up as Mr. Big for like an important.
Oh god,
meeting or
that'd be
something.
ridiculous.
But it doesn't happen. It's just like he rips up the makeup off and it's over. The facade has been ripped away. We're good. Now we'll have a 45-minute boat chase, 45 minutes to an hour long boat chase. Maybe we'll have another 25-minute weird plane chase where they're chasing people around in the airport for a little while.
Yep.
And then we'll have a
Shenanigans.
crocodile scene. And then we're also going to tack on a 10-minute scene at the end where they fight on a train. when
Oh,
you think
let's get to
movie's
the
over.
Crocs. I love the Crocs.
Well, just give me a second here. We're almost there.
Yeah,
The-
yeah.
The thing that I thought was funny too is they go back to another nightclub that is the same set. And they're like, it's different, and they make the joke that like, don't sit in the booth because you'll get taken away. So they sit at a table. they
No, when
order
he
their
says I
drink.
had a bad turnaround or something. What is
Yeah.
the line? No, I know you.
It took a bad turn.
Oh,
I had
I had a bad turn the last time I sat in a booth, and as soon as he goes down, he's like, I need to think of a good floor falling away.
I like how quickly they had
Yeah.
both of the drinks out again on the table,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, shush, that she's performing."
And then, can't you see? And he's like, sit down and shut up. And he's like, what happened to my friend? And he's like, I'll tell you what happened to your friend. And then it cuts away. I'm like, I want to hear what he has to say. What is he?
But
telling?
when the performer comes out, she's doing like a disco version of Live and Let Die, and
That's when they said the name of the movie in the movie.
that's the only time that they really do it. They didn't really do the,
I think maybe one of the only times in a James Bond movie where somebody performs the song that is the
Yeah.
title song for the movie in the movie.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but like I can't think of a single other example of that happening.
I'm sure they must have been. Well, I mean, they said Doctor
Watch
No,
it.
Doctor No.
No.
Well,
I'm
you know,
talking
there's-
about
She
she's
performs the
performing the
song.
actual
the song.
Yeah, she's singing the Paul McCartney
Right.
song at the beginning.
but it's like a disco. It's like a
Yeah,
disco
but-
version.
it's got a
Paul-
disco
But
twang.
if Paul McCartney created the song for the movie, who wrote the song in the world of the movie? Is it still
Paul McCartney.
No,
Also,
that woman.
It's on the
woman on
radio in
stage.
this
But it only
universe.
exists
It's
in the
covering
It's
it.
But the song only exists because of the movie, and if it's in the movie, it's just
In the concept of the movie, it was created by
I-
the proprietor of the Soul Filet,
Yeah.
and he makes her sing it every.
It was
time,
John
just in case.
in the Bond universe. It was John Lennon who created the song.
Yeah. And Paul McCartney got shot.
Paul McCartney got killed by Mark David Chapman.
Oh my god.
No, he got
We
killed by
get-
someone with only one name.
That's true.
Only one name. Oh,
Cher.
man.
He was
Where
killed
am I?
by Cher.
He was killed by Cher.
If I could turn back.
That's funny.
Listen, Bond talks to a man in a mask. Pulls the mask off to reveal that he is actually Kananga, as we talked about. He gets trapped Bond style in a chair where like, things go over his arms to trap him there. And
That's why I never put my hands on armrests because I'm
No,
nervous
never
that
do
I'm gonna
that.
Get locked into a chair in some sort of torture situation.
then Bond is like, yo, you mess with that, referring to Solitaire, which was uncomfortable. And it turns out that he did, in fact, mess with that because he
Does he
has
say
Bond
mess with
taken
that?
away.
He does.
Yeah, he
does.
says,
Oh my god.
Did you touch her? He says it most. of the
Yeah, he
time.
says, "Did you touch her?" Yeah.
Did you mess with that? He also says
Yeah.
that.
He also.
He does say that.
Yeah.
After
And then
all,
he
he
rips
says
his
he
face
says
off.
he'll only tell it to I've already forgot his name. What's the guy's name? The bad guy?
Kananga.
Tihi? Kananga?
Kananga. He said I'll only tell it to Kananga, and then you realize that he takes
Right.
off the mask and you see he is Kananga.
Right. Yeah. He's like, but I think Bond like is suspicious of it. But then he says like, quite revealing or something. Or it's something
Yeah, yeah.
when he rips.
Well,
it.
He rips off his face.
Mr. Big is the distributor, like the front man. So Kananga puts on a mask to go and like be in Harlem, and then just reveals a mask
so that he can be a
takes the
crazy
mask-
drug dealer without
Yeah.
Kananga, I guess. But it's so weird and it's very convoluted, and it doesn't seem like it's necessary for him to put on Hollywood level prosthetic makeup to pretend to be somebody else.
Does he put that on every day?
Just when he's in Harlem or New Orleans.
But
Maybe it's
Kananga-
like the sorry. You know
Kananga grows the heroin. Go ahead.
You know the diabetes monitor things that you like put into your arm? Maybe
Yeah.
that's what it's like. Like it's like you actually have to press on something that looks like a stamp, so he's just onto his face.
Oh, he's got a bunch of them. Like he just like suctions onto his face. Like
There's a cartridge that he has to like safely
It-
dispose of.
it only lasts. Yeah, it only lasts for 2 hours exactly, and it starts to like melt off your face after a time.
That's
if you
actually
get it in direct sunlight.
groundbreaking technology they should use in Broadway. I think maybe if it doesn't melt your face.
Well, that was
in
his.
instant.
That was his plan B. He's like, you know,
Yeah,
if
he's
this
doing
whole
Broadway.
heroin empire thing doesn't work out, I can probably sell these crazy fucking masks.
All right, tell
to
me if
Broadway.
this is correct. Tell me if this is correct. His big plan, Kananga's big plan, is to get everybody in the United States addicted to free heroin.
Not
and
everybody.
then he will be the only distributor. And then when the bottom falls out, he'll start charging them for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the plot of Half Baked.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Is it?
Well, give out free samples first, and then people like your product. But his is like get people hooked on heroin, and then start charging them a ton of money.
But how
And
does
we've
that
got this
push
like
out?
amazing scene where he's like cotton swabbing the nasty
And also,
fucking
like,
jizz
he
off
can't
his
be-
face from the.
He can't
gross
be the
mask.
only person in all of America selling heroin.
Well, he
Like, he's
does
like, "Don't
he
come
does
back to
bring
me."
this up a little
Yeah.
bit. James Bond is like, well, I know a number of families that'll make that very they'll be very pissed off about this. He's like, they'll lose their goddamn minds and then they'll get out of the goddamn business because I'm going to be giving heroin away for free for 10 fucking years and no one's ever going to buy it from them anymore. And then like
Okay.
his whole plan is to wait until the addiction level reaches double what it is now, and then once all the other families can't sell their heroin anymore, start
To which I'm like,
charging for
is
it.
that a lot? What's 10,000 pounds per annum? Like,
Well,
what are we
that's a lot
talking?
of
What
heroin.
numbers? What number are we doubling?
He's giving away 2 tons worth of heroin, which I guess is a lot. I don't know, like tons. Seems like a lot.
That's fine, but if you have 10 addicts, 20 is not much more. Like,
How much-
what numbers
Much
are you
10
doubling?
addicts do in a week, like at one
Well,
ton.
think about what a bag, like what a
One ton
bag
of
of
heroin.
flour would weigh, right? Like a 5-pound bag of flour. Like you can put a lot of powder into a thing because it doesn't.
You can
weigh
make a lot of cakes with 1 5-pound bag of
That's right.
powder.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Powder.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
2 tons of heroin. Think about it like in cocaine.
Think about it in like Bugs Bunny rules. Like it's a big giant weight that says 2 tons on the side of it.
Yeah.
It's cartoonish. This plan is an
Like
is
every
a
Bond
Wile E.
movie's-
Coyote.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he holds up a sign that says like I'm addicted to heroin. There's just a giant sack of heroin behind him.
You just have to rely on a lot of things going a particular way with these plans.
Some of them are a little bit better than others, and some of them are a little bit more convoluted than others, and some of them are a little bit overly complicated compared to others. But this one is just like, I get the logic, so it doesn't really.
It's
When it's a man who's just removed a Mission Impossible mask from his face, while his girlfriend, who can tell the future, no longer has her psychic powers because she got fucked.
Shit.
a lot.
Next. Yeah.
And then as a literal zombie walks in, is like in the room. I'm like, I'm not gonna get too upset about anything that happens.
I also love how like butternuts there. He was like
Yeah,
super.
he's trying to cut his fucking pinky off with his claw hands.
Well,
his
he
buttery
also
claw
like
hands.
he like almost seems proud that like when he puts Bond in the alligator trap, he's like, one of these guys took my whole arm off once, and that's why he has the claw hand. But he doesn't seem scared or unhappy about it. He's just like he's very nonplussed about the fact that these animals took one of his limbs. He's like, now I feed him chicken. You know, you throw a chicken out to
As
them.
he's like stabbing the chicken with his claw hand and like awkwardly like.
was I the only person who was wondering if crocodiles and alligators get along fine if they're
I
in the
was
same
also
area?
wondering. I was like, why are they in the same pen?
I was like,
That
is that
seems-
safe?
It seems like
Well, they
something
eat
that
each-
you don't
I mean,
do.
he does
Yeah.
say like they'll even eat each other if they have to, but like
No, but like I assumed it was like the alligators will eat each other.
No, yeah. But I mean,
but
I
like,
think what he's inferring is like if they're not hungry, they won't eat you. Like if it's an alligator or a crocodile, respectively, they'll just hang out in the same pen no matter
Okay.
what. But if they need
but
to,
do
they'll eat
they?
each other.
But they're also
I don't know.
all shown in the water, and aren't like alligators the ones that are amphibious, and crocodiles like are both? You know,
Well,
like
apparently the Florida Everglades.
Semi-aquatic.
This is according to the internet. It says alligators and crocodiles can coexist in the wild, but they usually are not very friendly with one another. The Florida
So these guys were palling around.
Andre, you'll know what I mean when I say this. But can they coexist?
Yes, can they coexist? The
Strange
Florida Everglades
bedfellows.
is the only place in the world where alligators and crocodiles live together.
There's these little like dog-sized crocodiles. They're like a particular type of crocodile. Anyway, I don't want one.
Cayman or whatever, like the bigger ones.
The
aren't they?
little babies. When he goes and like puts his fingers near the little baby crocs, and one of them snaps up, and it reminded me so much of my dog because she's a crocagator. Like that's what she.
A crocagator.
Crocodogs. Crocodogs.
She's a dogodile. Dogodile or a rorogator. Those are.
Yeah, that sounds like a thing.
Is it a
I just wanna let you
crocodilian,
guys
like
know-
crocodoglian?
Our views
Dogodile.
went up for a minute while you guys were talking about crocogators.
Oh,
Dogodiles.
But let's just
so-
talk about this for the rest of the night.
What does it matter to you when you got a dog to talk about?
But they're so cute, the little babies. And then he's like, "Oh, the only bigger ones or whatever." And they're like, "Yeah, we got moms and dads hanging around here."
Yeah. I like this whole part because it feels like Teehee is actually kind of a cool guy. Where I'm like,
I like
Teehee.
Teehee. I think
Yeah.
he is a cool guy. You know, I
seems
think
like he
he's
might
a
be a
victim
cool
of
guy.
circumstance.
But he also seems to enjoy.
Oh, poor Teehee.
He seems to
Butterhook.
enjoy his job. You know, he's like, I got my arm bit off by these crocodiles, but everything else about my life is pretty sweet. I have this robot.
Everything's
arm now.
going a-okay.
Can you
That
make
is robot
Butterhook
arm,
merch?
that's-
Everything's coming up Teehee is what he said when he got his robot hand.
It's,
and,
it's a lot of
crushed his
laughing.
first,
Like he's probably in the back just practicing his laugh, or like next time he's like, oh, ha, 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 like every time something's going up.
well, it's like he every day he wakes up and he says like, if I don't laugh, I'll cry, because he's got a big fucking horrible ripped off armhole, and he has to
I think
strap
he's
his
the most
robot in.
interesting character in
Yeah.
this whole thing. But can you
Every
please
time-
make Butterhook merch, please?
I wrote a note,
Butterhook,
so it
yeah.
has to happen. Yeah.
Butterhook,
Every
okay.
time that Teehee was on screen, we're gonna get to a final battle with Teehee in just a moment here, but Teehee tries to take his watch. That's where we get the Butterhook line. I thought his name was Butterhook, which is a great James Bond, like Lockjaw style villain name, and asks
It'd be great.
Solitaire.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you anymore, but it'd be great if like his henchman friends heard that, and then like that's now his nickname. It's like George on Seinfeld when he wants to be called like
Fucking
T-Bone, but they
Butterhook
call him like
over
Coco. Yeah, he's like, no, I want to be Steel. I want to be Steel Claw. I want to my name's Steel Claw. I'm like, nah, you're Butterhook. Butterhook over there.
It's like
He's like,
they're
he's
at,
so
like,
mad. He's so mad. He goes home. His wife's like, are they calling you Steel Claw? And he's like, no, they're still.
or he's like, yes, they are.
Yes, they had a small tear comes down his face.
Yeah, let's end this
But he's
conversation
got that
immediately.
big smile on his face that he always has the entire movie, but the
Yeah.
tears are streaming. I was picturing them at like like in Star Trek how they play poker or whatever. It's like, but it's
Yeah.
like all the James Bond henchmen like Jaws and Odd Job, and then Teehee is there. And they're just calling him Butterhook the whole time.
Hey, Butterhook over here. And he's like, I told you guys, it's Steel Claw.
It's Steel Claw.
Claw.
Steel Claw.
At least call me Teehee.
It's Claw Clamp.
It's Claw Clamp.
Hey, Butterhook,
even
there's still some raw chicken on your hook. I can smell it.
They just get him to do like medial shit that uses this hook. Like, hey, we put a log on the fire.
And fucking Jaws is there laughing.
Or no, like he walks into the office and they have like a box full of children's stuffed toys, and they're like, "Hey, would you mind reaching in there and grabbing one of those out?" He's just going like this.
But it's a whisper, and he's using like that thing in the car to aim the gun.
Oh my goodness.
Uh,
Well, he takes his watch and asks Solitaire to guess if he's lying or telling the truth. to see if she's unsullied, and they still
Unsullied.
knock Bond completely out.
I'm not sure what got you, Noel, but you laughed for a long time.
Yeah. I think I got her with something early.
Noel's dead. Rest in peace.
We killed her.
It'd be funny.
Oh my
if
God,
Noel-
I looked
Noel
down
came
and
back
the
up with a
screen
top
was
hat
just-
on. It's like,
Yeah. I looked at my notes and looked back, and Noel's head was out of frame, and it was just a gun pointed at my face.
I'm dying.
That's
Listen,
awesome.
they knock Bond out. Did you guys notice that Whisper is able to deadlift a whole Roger Moore out of the room with no problems?
Like
Yeah,
a sack of
he
potatoes.
just like picks him under one arm and just walks
Yeah.
off.
He
Like, no
carries him
problem.
out like he's a rolled up carpet. Like he's just like no problem. He's just, how he says like no problem. He does like the RFK Jr. voice.
Oh, vaccines.
You want me to open the champagne for you, sir?
Y'all made me cry.
I don't even know.
Awesome.
What, I can't,
Mission
like,
accomplished.
was it a combination of many things or was it just one specific thing? Okay.
It just kept like just hearing the name T.
Can you at least call me T?
At least call me T.
Yeah. We're calling you Butter.
Your name's Butterhook.
Yeah.
It's Butterhook.
Or Chicken Fingers.
The chicken fingers thing.
He's got raw chicken grease on his claw.
I was wondering if that was like part of his secret ability where he like stabs you and he's got chicken all over his fucking claw, so it gives
I'm
you
listening
You just get
salmonella.
salmonella. That's what kills
I'm
him.
actually listening to a podcast.
Yeah, it was not food safe.
And they're doing the early half of Spielberg's filmography right now, and they're talking.
Is
about
it screen drafts? Are you listening to screen drafts?
I'm not, no, but
Sorry.
they were talking about how because Spielberg never actually could get the Bond movie that he wanted to, Lucas was like, "Don't worry, I've got something even better that you might like," and that's where Indiana Jones was born from. And when he and George Lucas were working on Indiana Jones, Steven Spielberg, he still had that like Bond brain where he's like, can we make the guy have a robot hand? Can the guy have a laser eye? Like he really wanted to have like James Bond level shit in Indiana Jones. And George Lucas was like, I think that them just being Nazis is evil enough. We don't need to have anything crazy. They're just Nazis, you know? It's
Yeah, you don't need to
scarier.
explain any further than Nazis. Like
Yeah.
that's,
He doesn't need to be a Nazi with robot legs.
You
Up until-
used to not have.
I was gonna say, up until recently, Nazis were considered the history's greatest.
The
villain.
worst thing you can be, yeah.
I don't know what they are now.
No, now
aspirational
50%
for
of
some.
Americans fucking love them. Apparently. Okay, we gotta move it forward a little.
Oh, we're only on hour 4 here. What do you want? What do you want from me? My full-time job now. I'm just gonna make jokes about Butterfingers earlier.
Chicken fingers, Butterfingers, yeah.
Butterclaw.
Butterclaw.
Who is this other gay pimp man? Well, yeah, Baron
It's
Samedi.
Baron Sam. How did you not realize that it was him? It's just so clearly him.
Because he looks lighter skinned when he doesn't have the makeup on.
He didn't have the makeup on at all yet in the movie.
No, that's what I'm saying. When he doesn't have the makeup on, he doesn't look like him.
You've
That's
seen him
confused.
twice already in the movie, and he doesn't have the makeup on. So
I
he
got
never had the
confused.
makeup on until the end. So I don't know what your excuse is.
I was
It's
trying
not
to be
holding
like,
up.
I thought I was being the opposite of every. Okay,
I mean,
thought
he
he
is.
had the makeup on earlier.
I think he had like the half makeup when he's at
He had,
the,
like, half of it,
when he's
yeah.
at the bar or whatever dancing and with the little, the flexible man.
so look,
Flexible man. We'll call him
Can I-
Flexo just to make it short.
Flexo. Doing,
Kananga-
doing, doing, doing.
Kananga slaps down Solitaire and says, "You could have loved me," and all of that stuff happens. Baron Samedi's there, and he laughs like a psycho and draws the death card for Solitaire. Then Butterhook
I
shows
couldn't kill you
Bond-
unless I draw the card first.
Yeah.
He also burns the lady card, or what is it? The priestess card, I think.
the Queen of Cups. I
No,
think,
he
or-
burns the priestess card because she's the priestess, and that's him
Right.
basically being like, "You need to fucking burn her."
So why is she so important if everyone can read tarot
I mean,
in this movie?
yeah, I
Tarot's
think
kind of
Baron
bullshit.
Samedi is meant to be a magical man. Like he is,
Yeah,
But
it's magic.
Bond can do it.
I think maybe tarot is just a bunch of.
It's like
I
this
was gonna
world
say voodoo,
Uno.
but maybe I should say hocus pocus. Is that also terrible towards the occult?
No, it's
I
just
don't know if we
dumb. I
can say
think.
hocus. Yeah. So-
Hocus pocus, where'd you get
Butterhook chases Bond through the heroin factory,
Hmm.
and that's when we see the crocodiles. No, sorry, follows, not chases.
Yeah, we get a good sort of laboratory where it's like it looks like an old slaughterhouse or something, and then they go inside and it's like the facade of a shitty burnt
Like a
out
shack.
warehouse, but then
Yeah.
inside it's got like
A
clean
chicken coop.
laboratories and stuff. Yeah,
We learned something very interesting about Butterhook.
Butterfingers.
A crocodile named Albert, who still exists in this pen, actually bit his arm off. It's very Happy Gilmore. I kept thinking about Happy Gilmore through all of this.
Right.
They leave Bond on a rock, so he takes him out. He leaves him on a rock, and
He even lost his hand by getting bitten off by a crocodile. He
Yeah,
is dumb.
exactly.
Also, when he's retracting on that little bridge, and Bond's
Yeah.
like, "Could you give me some advice?" And he goes, "It's all in the hips, It's all in the hips." And I was like, "Butterfingers is really." I think
then
that
let-
he's-
then when
Yeah,
Happy
that was
Gilmore-
actually good advice because to dance, like run over those crocs, you need a low center of gravity.
you
And
need
to,
to
like,
make sure it's all in the hips. Yeah.
so he actually did give him the correct advice. Was the
Yeah.
other thing stick your hand in and pull out all their
Pull
teeth?
his
Is the
teeth,
other-
yeah, and then or
And
like
like-
stick a pencil behind his eyeball or something crazy.
yeah,
But
that's
is
what
the
it is. The whole-
crocodile is the crocodile
Is it-
named Albert because of Albert Broccoli? Like, is that
Oh, I thought it was
fun
because of
little-
Albert Einstein,
a fine little
because he's the
juice?
smartest alligator who ever lived, and he's 200 years old or whatever, just like Albert.
Just like
Einstein.
Albert.
I think Albert Einstein might have still been alive in 1973.
Yeah, and he was like, "I hope they name an alligator after me in this next James Bond movie."
And then remember the scene later where like Bond needs inspiration and he sees Butterhook in heaven playing the piano with both his hands.
I do remember that.
And he's like,
And it's like,
Bond's on it.
So Bond spots a canoe and he tries to use this magical fucking. I kept calling it a bracelet, but it's a watch. He tries to use
It's
that
also-
to.
It's not magical. It's just a magnet.
It's
Well,
just a
it's
time
mag-
I
bracelet.
forgot Jason's a member of the Insane Clown Posse, and he's like, "Fucking magnets. How do they
How do
work?"
they work? Anyway, that doesn't work out for him. It gets stuck, and he runs across the crocs to escape in one of the best James Bond things ever. I think.
It's so
Watch
silly.
those clips of that stuntman, man. It's insane. Like that guy almost dies like 6 times.
Oh,
I can't believe a human being was like, "Yeah, I got this.
Yeah.
I'll be James Bond for this scene, and I'm going to actually run across the backs." That's a good name for a James Bond movie, Across the Backs of Crocodiles.
No, I like that. It's a good name.
Do you guys have any names for James
Ooh.
Bond movies that you've come up with?
I did write one down. What was it? Oh yeah, diamonds are for tax evasion.
That's pretty good. Noel, do you have one? No. I have my
I was
main
feeling
one.
very uncreative today.
I like the one that I had come up with because it just sounds like it could actually be a James Bond title that would be about something stupid. And it's Tomorrow Died Yesterday. And it's about like a villain who's creating global warming. And he's like, "I'm going to melt the ice caps. Oh, wait, they already are melted. I'm going to refreeze the ice caps and the whole world." And
And the world is like, "Thank you."
No, he creates a whole
And then it's
ice
just
age.
Waterworld. He just creates Waterworld.
Is there one that's already called "Today Is a Good Day to Die"? Like, it's just
That was a Die
No
Hard
time,
movie.
no time to die.
A Good Day to Die Hard isn't one of the Die Hard movies.
Right.
it is.
There's
I
also
heard
so
of
many with
Vengeance.
die in the title. That's why like Tomorrow Died Yesterday is like a It sounds like a James Bond movie, you know. Tomorrow.
If you had told me it was a Roger Moore one, I would have been like, yeah.
Yeah,
it's a thing that some would think is really clever, but it's actually just incredibly dumb.
Yeah, it's just
that's great.
Yeah.
Bond manages to blow up the heroin hut and jacks a boat. So
first
what
he leads all the crocodiles into it. He
Right.
makes like a little chicken thing, so they all walk in. And like
Just
the
for
outside of the
fun.
hut is so normal looking, and inside it's like a state of the art facility. It's like
Yeah.
It's like Pengu's house.
yeah,
It's like, did you say Pengu's house?
yeah.
Wow.
True, yeah. And the scientists are like, whack, 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 whack. Like, what are they saying? They're speaking.
Why
in
are they
code.
penguins?
Yeah. I like that the one guy sees the alligator and instead of running to the exit, he like turns around and starts banging on the glass, like, help me, help me. It's like you can probably run. The thing is moving.
There are
very slowly.
alligators.
Yeah. But I guess they run fast, right? Alligators? I don't know. I think they have like a
I think that's
fast
like part of
land
the
speed.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're supposed to run
It's-
serpentine or whatever when they come after you because they can't turn quickly, but they can run fast in
Oh.
a straight line.
Oh, okay.
If they-
That's good to
oh,
know
if
if I
they
ever
get
find myself
you-
attacked by alligators.
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite thing that alligators do is the death roll,
Hmm.
Yeah.
where they
The
clamp
gator
onto
roll,
you
yeah.
and then roll, and
Spin, yeah.
rip you to pieces. That's the coolest thing. Just a rolling gator destroying you. If I should go, that's how I want to go.
That was my
Being
nickname
torn
in
in
high
half
school,
by-
Rolling Gator. Because I'd clamp onto you for friendship and never let go, and I'd roll into a death roll until you hated me. Until I destroyed our relationship.
I shredded our relationship.
It's like this podcast, I think.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, we also meet Sheriff J.W. Pepper, who is the most
Pepper.
racist man.
Who I made the foolish mistake of eating while I was watching this specific part of the movie, and for some reason he disgusted me so much that I had to wait until this 30-minute boat chase was over before I could start eating my food again.
Oh,
For
brutal.
He does
some
look like
reason.
that
He
Captain
spits a
Planet
lot. He's
villain.
got like a big wad in his mouth, and he's like,
Yeah, he's
just being
chewing
racist.
tobacco. He's
He's very
tobacco.
sweaty, and everything about him is gross. I think he was
He's
wearing
a
padding
cartoon.
to make himself look bigger. Like it looked like padding. It didn't look like his real body, but still. He also sounded like he might be British doing like a southern accent, but I couldn't really tell.
I did like I didn't like the fact that he pulls up on that gangster guy and is like, "Hey boy, I noticed that you pulled up here, so I'm gonna arrest you." But I do like the comeuppance of Bond just jumping over pieces of land with the boat and ends up having one of the hooligans crashing a boat into the car. How do you explain that? Also, on a $7 million budget, it's like that's a lot of money was probably put into that.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of caricatures about the South. Like
The
when the white guy showed up, I was just like, "Oh no, is this going to be like the heroic?" And I was like, "No, also a cartoon." Also,
I wrote the other pig fucker cops show up, and one of the other boats manages to.
Jesus
It
Christ.
was into vigilante mode for some reason.
And one of the boats manages to keep a tail on Bond. They run around. Bond okay, so there's this next scene where they crash into like a rich person's home, and one of the gangsters ends up in the pool, and they're like, "We can't do anything." And Bond just jacks their boat because he's used up the boat that he originally got on. He rolls off again.
Yeah, it's got a hole in it because it got shot by the stupid cop who can't use his gun or whatever. So this is like they do this twice. They do the boats get landed on land twice. This one is just I guess so that he gets another boat, and we need to like. And it's funny that they land in a pool. Good, but then they do it again at a wedding, which I can only imagine cost a lot of money to make a faux wedding and like do all this shit. With
Just to get
for
the
not-
gag of the wife freaking out
Yeah,
because the
be
wedding's
like,
ruined.
"My cake" or whatever, and it's
they
like
just crashed a real wedding.
it was a real wedding. Yeah, they
Yeah,
actually.
that'd be awesome if that was the case.
Do you know what
Just
reminded me of?
Bond's like,
the
fuck
last-
you. Just trying to Sorry, go ahead, Noel.
It reminded me of that scene that went on too long at the party in Last Action Hero.
Right. Yes. Yeah. That's how exactly I feel. Like I'm like, you already did the gag once. We don't need it twice. It's a lot of just helicopter shots of boats driving, and like, you know, maybe every once in a while a person react, like, you know, in the pod race in episode 1 when the Jawas are like when, like the pod racers go by. It's like a lot of that kind of shit. And
But I do like the moments that are like the ends of the scenes, like the cop car getting impaled, and then also the
It's some impressive
multi-
stunt work. It's just long.
yeah, the multi-car pile up as Bond like goes over, and he does it like a third time where he goes over.
I mean, we've made a
another
lot of
piece
jokes
land.
about like where the budget of this movie.
I like this scene. I think, I mean, that wasn't saying it like it was a bad thing. Like, I love that it's like, oh no, it's a wedding. It's where do I put this bomb? Like,
yeah, the Batman when he's like, oh, there's nuns. Oh, yeah.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
and the winner line of this guy got his boat jacked and then he got another one in his pool. Like, you can't you have to set these things up. You have to do elaborate stunts in order to set up one-liners.
I think like my main thing is like the end of the movie where he has the confrontation with what's the character's name again? Fuck. Kananga. Yeah. It doesn't play out in the same way that something like Dr. No does, where there is a big elaborate scheme that he needs to foil. He just kills him. Whereas like the majority of the resolution in this movie doesn't come through that. We just get a big giant long ass boat chase, which it ends pretty cool. I like the big explosion. I like that he throws the shit in the guy's face, and I like the little bits.
Go over and hit the ground, and you see the boat just on the ground for a while before it gets to the next piece of water. Like, that's pretty impressive.
But what we absolutely do not need is an entire subplot of some racist sheriff being like, "I'm going to get my brother-in-law Billy Bob's fastest boat in all the land to chase James Bond." Yeah, go ahead, call him. I swear. And then he calls him, and Billy Bob is like, "Yeah, I got my boat right here. I always am cleaning my boat at this time of day." And then as he like, you know,
he's like, everybody would want this boat. He's like, I want your boat. He's like, everybody in the whole bayou wants my boat.
Yeah. And then that guy also calls that character boy as well, which you're like, ugh, come on. And then I'm glad that he gets knocked the fuck out. But you know, it doesn't need to be as long as it is. And you know, I am a defender of sequences like this in certain movies. Episode 1, Phantom Menace. I love how long and dumb the fucking pod race sequence is. I would never trade any moment of that for more resolution at the end. But in this movie, I would trade a little bit.
George Lucas only works in real time. Like, if he says something's going to take a half an hour, it actually takes half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But like, the boat scene is fine. You just need to cut out that weird subplot.
Yeah, it doesn't need its own storyline. Like, it's crazy that it's there because it
let the
cutting...
chase scene breathe.
But there's no moments of Bond having moments of revelation on the boat. There's no moments of like him having tense situations where they're like dun, 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 like hammering each other or whatever. It's just cutting to this cop being like, "Move faster," or like that weird truck full of chickens, and he's like, "Have you ever thinking about getting a fucking driver's license?" Like, what is going on? Like, why is this happening? Who is this character? And the even more distressing part is that this character shows up in another James Bond movie after. Like, people liked this shit so much at the time that they're like, let's put this fucking podunk weird inbred sheriff of the law in another James Bond movie. And I'm pretty sure that in that movie, it's almost like a Dukes of Hazzard style car chase. And like, there's even a moment where the car goes over his head and it's like, ding, 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 ding. Like, it has like a moment where the score chills out for a minute to have some twang. Anyway, it's just frustrating is I guess what I'm trying to say. I don't want to talk about this too much unless you guys have more to add about it. But
no, it's totally like it's a diversion that's unnecessary. It's just trying to add some comedy to it, but it's like,
we don't really need it. And
no,
also the movie is 2 hours and like 3 minutes long. I would be fine with this movie wrapping up 10 minutes early if they cut out that entire thing. You know?
I agree.
Well, it's a 90-minute movie that they put this giant set piece in. Bond rolls up and Felix is waiting there. Mr. Big took the girl. You should have seen the guy that they had with him. He's like 9 feet tall and had a top hat. And of course, that's Baron Samedi. Bond. The next scene that we see is Bond suited up in his classic black with gun holster, and he infiltrates a ceremony, a voodoo ceremony, because we can say that. And and
we
Bond,
already okayed it. We already said that. It's okay.
We got the okay. Bond sets up some like.
Time we say we're allowed to say it. It's okay to say.
It's the okay we
Exactly.
gave ourselves. It's the okay we gave ourselves.
Bond sets up some bombs, and Solitaire is like the classic, like, you know, damsel in distress. She's about to get bit by a snake, and a man rises from the grave, but it's Baron Samedi, and Bond takes 2 shots at it and takes the top of the head off, and the eyes roll up, and that's the weirdest thing in this whole movie. Like, Steve, earlier you said, is it a thing where he can take over mannequins, but it's not really him?
Are they like weird whack? Is it like a Gollum or something from like Gollum lore, where he can manifest his spirit into like a clay statue or like a mud statue or whatever, a ceramic statue or whatever you want to.
Well, it's never established or mentioned ever. So.
I know, but he's clearly alive, and then he gets blown to smithereens, and then another one comes up from the grave right next to it, and he manifests again, but this time he's like, and then he fights them.
He just like comes up into the frame, and it's like actually him that time or something.
But then we also establish after that those are elevators that like
Right,
other henchmen are loading things into and like having them go up. So it's like, you're like, this is magic. Wait, no, it's not. Wait, yes, it is. Wait, no, it's not. What is it? I don't know. And they never explain it. And then at the end of the movie, Baron Samedi is just riding on the front of the train, laughing like Tim Curry into the night. Like, okay, well, that's
Bond takes Solitaire underground. He grabs her. His explosions go off sort of in the background. He grabs her. They go underground into a classic Bond movie style bunker, and he walks right into the belly of the beast. And fucking Mr. Big is like, or Tanaga is like.
Wait, do we want to talk a little bit about the uniforms of his henchmen on the island? How they're all
It's
dressed
so
like they're
perfect.
at like a Rona or something. Like with
The red shirts and jeans.
jeans. They work at like either like a chain restaurant
They're-
that's
they're
like
sta- they're
Target themed, or
They're
they work
Staples
at-
employees. They just work at
Yeah,
Staples.
I was gonna
It's like-
Staples or like a home hardware or something.
It's like the writing table was like, okay, so they're Bond villains, so they need to have like a uniform, but they're like from the street, so it needs to be a cool uniform.
So like jeans and what? Red shirts? Yeah, perfect. It's so weird. And like, you know, the guy who gets kicked off the cliff at the beginning, I was like, oh, look at this guy dressed sharp dresser, this guy who got kicked off. And then later you see that all of them are wearing that, and you're like, oh wait, it was they all
Oh
just
no,
wear
that's
that.
just
their
his uniform.
Yeah. Kananga is like, no, here's your uniform. And they're like, oh, this is really bright. Shouldn't maybe like
And tight.
yeah, something different maybe.
I love that like they had some kind of a meeting at some point where like him and like I don't know the stylist for the organization got together
It's
and
Baron
decided what
Samedi
the.
comes in and he's like, hello. So I've got 3 options for the fucking
I was walking through several
Yeah.
stores, the Staples, Home Hardware, and some other
I saw several mannequins that I tried to possess with my spirit, but they were surprisingly resilient. But I did steal the clothes from them. Yeah, let's talk about
Let's
the
go.
uniform. Yeah.
This is also the moment where he invites Bond and Solitaire in, which is a classic Bond thing. But then like he's taken all of his weapons, and we're hyper focused now on the shark gun. He's like, what is this? And it's like, that's a gun that has bullets that if you shoot a shark, it inflates the shark and makes it explode. So naturally, Kananga takes it and shoots the couch out underneath Whisper. So Whisper disappears into that couch, which
For
I
some
thought was
reason,
super
Whisper
funny.
thinks it's hilarious, though.
Yeah.
It's like the
True.
idea of a gun that fills something with air. Whisper is like, that's hilarious, and I'm like, what is he? Why does he think it's so funny? And then I'm like, is he thinking about farting? Like that's what my brain was like. Is Whisper being like a fart gun? Hilarious, but we never get the clarity on that until the couch eats him up. Did we ever see him? Oh, we do see him again after. Sorry, I was gonna say, does he just like disappear after he gets eaten by the couch? Like that.
That's what I thought, but you're right. He does come back. Kananga
Yeah, 'cause he gets locked in
manages.
the other thing. It's his whole thing is getting like stuck in things. He gets stuck in the couch. He gets stuck in the bomb later. Like that's just
Oh,
He just gets stuck.
They needed.
That's where he ends up.
Where they open up the torpedo.
Yeah, he gets stuck in
drug-
the torpedo thing.
Yeah, the drug lords in New Orleans like open up the torpedo and it's a whisper, and he's like, "I've been in there for so goddamn long."
And they're like, "What? What was that?"
Yeah.
Kananga ties up Solitaire and Bond in such a unique way. He's like his hands up, and she's like tied backwards around him, and they're gonna he starts cutting him or lower them into the sharks. Luckily he has the watch that he's been wearing this whole time. Nobody thought to take they keep taking the watch and giving it back, I guess.
Yeah, they're like, here's your watch,
as, like,
Mr. Bond.
little...
We just needed to read the
also like
the MPAA game earlier. You can have it back.
If you took somebody's watch, like you would probably fiddle with it, right? Like nobody takes it and just kind of rotates the dial or does anything. They just take it like.
Well, he does say that there's a specific thing you have to do to the watch at the very beginning.
Yeah, like you rotate the little dial. It's like
you have to pull it outward. Like
oh right, yeah, he did mention that.
Yeah, so like I thought about this as well, and I was like, I guess he did say like you have to pull it out in a weird way that isn't like something you would naturally do to a watch.
Oh,
with it.
Right.
sorry to ruin everything about the logic of this John Bon Jovi movie.
John Bon Jovi movie.
It was incredibly impenetrable before that. The logic was sound.
Bond
I think the logic is why do they keep giving his fucking watch back every time they capture him?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. They
Bond
throw him out. He's like, I had a watch, and they like. Throw it.
Can I please have my watch back now? You've already inspected.
Can I have my magnet? I mean, watch back, please.
My saw. I mean, watch. So he's slowly escaping.
I forgot it has a saw on it, which is way cooler than the fucking magnet, by the way.
Agreed.
Right. And when he gets free, he kicks Whisper into the missile thing, and we have a final battle where they fight each other.
Well, he ends the magnet from so far off to get the little the shark bullet, and then he puts it in his mouth, and it's big.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's
small. It's a thing where if you put it in your mouth, you'd be struggling to not accidentally swallow it, bite it, or spit it out on purpose.
Which I think he does, because how does it get activated? That's the part that I was like, what the fuck?
I don't know how you guys feel about holding something in your mouth, but like it makes me so fucking uncomfortable. But like if it was that big, I would be like drooling. So I would probably at one point a bunch of drool would come out of the corner of my mouth and be like,
let's all try it with something that we have.
Oh, sure.
I mean, it's probably about the size of this chapstick, right? I'm scared I might swallow it.
I got a highlighter here. Let's just. I just die. You like the rest of me just be like this dead because I choked on it.
You choked on it, or it goes down fine, and then the next few days you have mysteriously blue shit.
Blue shit, yeah.
Amazing. A chest piece or a skull, maybe.
But Kananga like inflates like a balloon, and since this movie is like rated PG or whatever at the time, with the way he explodes was so funny to me because he pops like a balloon and his parts still fall down to the water, but there's no red, there's no viscera, there's no gore.
I want to specifically ask you guys about this because I remember this moment from when I was like a pretty young kid watching this movie for the first time, and I remember it being way, way more horrific than it was. And I think
it's kind of goofy now.
Yeah, I think what I did
was the scene in Big Trouble in Little China.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah,
I think my brain combined the Big Trouble in Little China with this, so I thought
because that's more horrific.
His face gets and that his face gets really bulgy and his eyes go wild.
That's definitely Big Trouble in Little China. Or I think, Total Recall when the guy is
Recall.
I think my mind combined all these more horrific like moments where people inflate. Into this where he just turned into like a sex doll for 2 seconds and then blew up.
Like just comedically insane, like just
it's wild. And like, why does he float? The couch didn't float. Like it's not helium.
It floats to the top of the room and hits probably a stalactite. And
like Bond puts it in his mouth, puts his hand over it, and then pushes him under, and then gets away. And he's still under with it still in his mouth. He didn't spit it out. He's just like, oh, well, the bad guy put this in my enemy put this in my mouth. I should just hold it here for a while.
I should just make sure I don't.
Yeah, make sure that whatever plan he had in place is going to happen by making sure this stays in my mouth.
Sorry, my kid woke up. So
We've had so many animals on this stream tonight.
I liked how you could just see, because you're holding the dog, I can see the dog freaking out, and you could just see the cat come in off to the side. Like just see the there's something. It's like one of those movies where there's like another reality behind your reality. You don't see all of it. It's just like the cat just sort of gets visible for a minute, and then tucks back into its hidden corner.
Yeah, there's chaos.
It's awesome. I got 4 cats running around. You saw a few of them earlier. So.
So to take it home, we end up on a train. We get the world's most horny line where Bond loses Edge into solitaire, and he says, "I would have test the old adage, unlucky at cards," and pulls the bed down.
Most comfortable beds to have sex in. It's like it comes out of the wall, so it's like it's not like super stable. It's almost like 2 cords on the side to keep it from just flipping down.
Yeah.
Like, how would that be? The mechanics of that would be impossible.
I mean, I always just assume that James Bond is not that great at sex.
No,
in my mind, because like no one ever really wants to come back to him. They're like, oh, he's
They
hot.
all die.
They all die, but
the
like,
one woman he did finally marry got killed. So.
And she kind of like
Tim
maybe
said this
was like,
earlier, and I
it's
think
not that
this
great. The
is
sex
this
isn't
sums
that
it up pretty good.
Don't worry, I can have fast sex. Don't worry, I can make it so fast you won't enjoy it.
Yeah.
They don't call me 007 for nothing.
Oh.
And then he's
It's like,
always
usually
like
his finishing time is under 7 minutes. He'll
Under
never
7
go beyond
seconds.
that. 7 seconds. Oh my god.
Tops. I get in, I get out. The mission.
Yikes.
The old in out, in out.
Wouldn't it be great if like he's just like that's Bond's horrible secret is that he's just like a premature ejaculator. Like he's like after every single time he sleeps with a woman, he's just like, we're not gonna tell anyone about
He's like,
this,
please.
right?
He hits
It doesn't
something
normally happen to me.
Like,
It's
I
a
just
lot
need
of
to check
stress.
the time and like a bunch of like green gas. Like
That's why
like,
they
"You will
all
never
die.
know this."
He's keeping the secret. He's making sure they all die before they can tell anybody.
He's like, I'm calling a hit out on Pussy Galore. Make sure she tells no one.
The end of this movie has the most, like Austin Powers drew the most from this ending. But it also has
from this.
All right. Because
Well, it's
cast
full-
shows
it-
up after the everything's happily ever after, yeah.
yeah. So like
Fembots
they're
or whatever.
they're all like it's pulling from all of them, but like the sharks and the slowly lowering
Right.
like
Yeah.
sea bass lasers with the come on.
You'll never get ahead in life, yeah.
But like exactly,
That's one way to
exactly.
get
And he
ahead.
said he always has overinflated sense of self is the line for this one,
Yeah.
which is so it's like basically shot for shot what's in that that Austin
It's almost,
Powers
yeah,
movie.
it's almost like they wrote that line before, and they're like, we could say he always had an overinflated self of sense, and then we can probably shoestring
Inflate
into
him
the
somehow.
story. He somehow gets blown up by air, you know.
Yeah.
This whole thing is done backwards. Like they come up with the scenario and they're like, okay, what are we gonna how are we gonna get
He
this?
wrote
What
16
happens is
Roger
they,
Moore one-liners and then wrote a movie.
No,
around
they
it.
went to a
The guy that wrote
voodoo.
Commando.
They went to a voodoo shop in Harlem, and they're like, "What are several one-liners?" And like a fortune teller like played out a bunch of cards and like helped them write a bunch of one-liners for this movie, and then they wrote the movie backwards from there.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And her name was Canasta.
Good old Canasta.
Yeah. Her name was Gin Rummy
And they
because
saw
she was
the-
drunk all the time, not because she liked the game.
And I saw the stunt guy doing the stunt over and over and not getting eaten by sharks. And it's like, Kananga is close enough to Canasta. Listen, what ends up happening here, though, is Butterfingers shows up and starts butterfingering the wall. And then and Bond grabs him and they have a tussle and he ends up throwing him out the fucking train. And that's pretty much how it ends.
The only
And then at the
disappointing
very
part
end-
about this fight is that I always thought that robot arm was like attached to like his actual skeleton.
But
you
it
know?
looks so bad. Like,
It's
So
more
bad.
like it's just strapped to his body.
Well,
I thought it
it's
was
al-
like attached to his whole skeleton.
It's also it's very obvious, like in these movies, whenever someone's missing an arm, they have a hook in because their arm is way longer than it should be.
yeah.
You know,
That's what
because
I
there should
mean.
like your hook would be where your hand is.
And
but
you
then they
see
have
where the
little hand.
fist is holding on.
Yeah,
onto
exactly.
a thing that they have to clench.
That's
I
all
think
I
the
thought of this
funniest
whole
part
time.
is when he bends the gun and then he's gonna give it back to Bond, and then like it gets kind of like stuck, and he's like he has to like shake it a little bit to like get it off, and he's like, "Ugh,
Yeah,
So-
really one of those
sorry
things
about
where, like a take two would have solved it, but it probably got way more stuck, like 10 other takes.
The spoof of this would be somebody with like a claw arm for a game that doesn't really pick stuff up.
Oh, you missed this. No, while you were laughing so hard, Andre already made this exact hilarious joke, and it was so
Yeah.
funny. That's why I thought you were laughing so hard, because he did make the claw hand joke.
There
and
were
we
so
connected it to
many-
we connected
there
it to
were
like the gun at the beginning with like the
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to pick it up, just like
It's like keeps
like he's trying to take the gun away from him, but
It's just them giving shit to him all the time.
Yeah.
Like
that was like 10 minutes of you guys making fabulous jokes over like in a flurry.
we were on fire. We were on fire. We did quite
It
well.
happens. Sometimes it's in the cards.
Oh. Very nice.
I also like that. I also like the way that he defeats him. As he gets stuck, he's trying to pull his arm out, and he just grabs some fucking snips and snips the like.
Well, they
wires
set up that he
inside of
doesn't
his
travel
hand.
anywhere without his grooming kit. So this is his
Right.
grooming kit, but I guess that's like one of those like skin tag removers that old people used to carry around with them. I don't know.
Oh God.
Yeah, and he uses it to clip his wires, his 2 wires that control his whole sophisticated robot arm setup.
Yet end up making it clamp harder instead of releasing.
Yeah.
Well, in Austin Powers, he uses the floss that's given to him to do that whole.
Right. Yeah.
He also does judo, like squeezes toothpaste into somebody's eyes at one point. Yeah.
Well, and at the end of the movie, we see Baron Samedi in a very Friday the 13th like way. It's just on the train, and we hear the song
Weirdly enough,
again.
I feel like Baron
Dun-dun-dun,
Samedi is like the
dun-dun-dun.
least offensive character in the entire movie. Out of like all the offensive stereotypes and things that exist in this movie, he's like one that is like you can kind of get away with sort of liking a little bit more than the rest.
I think the actor is just really charming.
That's true.
Mm.
He reminded me so much of my first true love, Tim Curry, in Rocky Horror Picture Show, that I will just let it slide. You know,
He gets a pass.
he gets a pass. There was a point when I was watching this, I'm like, does he appear, the character of Baron Samedi, does he appear again in another James Bond movie? Because I had like these other images in my head, and it turns out I was just thinking of like a bunch of other appearances of that character in other things that I thought were
GoldenEye.
this. No, not the video game Gold. I wasn't thinking.
That's what I was thinking.
Doom, ding. You know, like before a multiplayer round starts and Baron Samedi's there. I was just thinking of other sort of like iconography of the character. But I remember like very clearly him getting knocked into the coffin and being bitten by the snakes. And for some reason, I remember this image of him being like, oh, like coming up out of that coffin. And I was waiting for it to happen. And I'm like, did I just create that in my mind? Is that what I wanted to happen as a child? Did it happen elsewhere? I don't know. Maybe I watched a Baron Samedi documentary at one point when I was like 12.
There is a documentary about this movie specifically that I saw.
It's called How Not to Be Racist. And they just show this movie. Don't do this.
Butternuts.
Butternuts.
I love buttercup. I love butternuts. Buttercup.
Butternuts.
That's the end of the movie. We just have 2 more things we got to do here. I know it. This is potentially our longest episode ever. Ironically,
Oh, God, that's hilarious.
we're just about to finish it off here. But let's talk
You guys all
about
in
our,
Toronto? Is that where you're at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
This is
it's
even late.
1
for,
o'clock
like-
in the morning for you.
Yeah,
Almost.
Oh, we started later.
we did.
True. But why don't we talk about our Home Alone of it all and our final thoughts and our ratings?
If you had to pick one, what do you think the Home Alone is the Home Alone of it all? Can someone please tell me when the Home Alone? I really gotta know. When is the Home Alone of it all? What is the Home Alone of it all? Now that's the Home Alone of it all.
So
The only podcast that has a Christmas song in every.
I love it. I love it. I'm very. You got the amount of sound bites and clips and crazy shit you guys are going on. It's very interesting.
Well, thank you. We like it. The Home Alone of it all is essentially the idea that in the movie Home Alone, okay, when Kevin McAllister,
This is some kind of film. Home Alone, you mentioned?
Yeah, it's a movie that was made by John Hughes at one point in history.
No.
And he had a very pivotal
Columbus
moment.
made it.
No, John Hughes wrote it or something.
John Hughes wrote it.
Yeah,
but
John Hughes wrote it.
Columbus directed it.
Christopher Columbus.
So they all made it.
I mean,
Made it
this,
together.
I
They
mean,
had an
this
orgy.
movie I know nothing about.
Catherine
Uh,
O'Hara
was-
was
yeah.
there. John Candy was
Listen,
there.
this John Candy movie from yesteryear. Essentially, in that movie, there's a scene where Kevin McAllister slaps in the blueprint and creates a Saw-like death scenario for these two poor bumbling idiots. What me and Steve have sort of posited over the years is that every movie sort of has that pivotal moment. The Home Alone of it all, it could be that. It could be the pivotal moment. It could be your favorite part of the movie. It could be literally the third act sometimes. But in addition to that, I'd like a final thought and a rating. So, Steve, since Andre's new here, Steve, why don't you go first? Why don't you sort of run down your Home Alone of it all? Noel also struggles with the Home Alone of it all.
Yeah,
I hope I've
Noel also
explained it-
struggles.
I've also explained it to Noel 9 times now.
And more, because
I
I've
think that
messaged you. Been
these are
like,
gonna
I don't
be
get it.
particularly difficult to I think Bond movies in general are going to be hard because there's so many Home Alone
Except
moments
Skyfall.
within James Bond movies. Except Skyfall, when they're like, "We finally returned to Skyfall," and then a man comes out of the shadows who should be
When the
Sean
Home Alone of it all is
Let's
the Home
slap
Alone of
these
it
sons
all.
of bitches and make this into a Home Alone house. Ding. So my Home Alone of it all in this movie, I think, is probably I don't even know if I have one. Like, this movie is so disjunct and like it feels broken from each other. Like, nothing really succinctly moves into the next thing. Nothing even sets up another thing. I guess I'll just say when he rips off the face, because I was like relieved that it wasn't a white person underneath the mask. You know, like my worst fear was that he's gonna be like, it would be some random white character that we haven't met yet.
I would have got away with the one few meddling kids.
If it wasn't for you, yeah, exactly. Like, and then for the rest of the movie, he would have had like weird black makeup on his neck and like around his ears and shit, and we would have had to deal with that.
He just looks like Batman when he takes the mask off, the big, like the black eyes around.
Yeah. So, I mean, that moment kind of makes the movie clear. So I suppose that would be where the Home Alone of it all is for me. But I will say, whereas most movies have one, this movie doesn't really have a clear one for me where the movie starts or breaks or begins. This movie kind of doesn't really have a lot happening. As Noel, you said earlier, it's a really simple but also like overly complicated in bits that it doesn't need to be, and it just kind of feels wrong. Like, everything about it feels wrong. It's not bad and it's not unenjoyable, but there is so much happening in this movie that feels wrong that you almost feel like I went to bed last night and I'm like, am I gonna get a knock at the door at 3 a.m. and they're gonna be like, you're under arrest? Like, for what? Like, for watching Live and Let Die, you sick twisted pervert. You're not allowed.
You sick fuck.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? Don't you know it's illegal to watch this movie? And when it comes down to like a rating, I would give this movie an unauthorized docking of a boat into a wedding cake.
An unauthorized docking, eh?
Ooh.
Yeah. Unauthorized docking. I could work that into a Bond villain, I suppose, but I'm not going to. It's a 25-minute long boat chase that could have been 10 minutes long, I guess, is what my final rating will be.
Well, with that knowledge, Andre, why don't you give us your Home Alone of it all, your final thought, and your rating?
Home Alone of it all is hard to pin down too. Steven's right about that. I guess when it really like gets into the meat of it is like when he's on the I'll call it Crocodile Island. That's when it seems to really like start moving towards like making sure getting somewhere. But even that leads into the crazy boat chase, and then the raid in the other place, and all that sort of stuff. That's when it really sort of opens up, I guess. When you first meet her and you have all that sort of stuff and find out her whole gimmick with the tarot cards and all that. But yeah, I don't know. It seemed the most Bond-like to me, and really opened up when he got to the alligator farm.
That was also like my other. I said it earlier when he smacks through the oil drum and it's just revealed that it's full of raw chicken. I'm like, maybe that is a good Home Alone of it all moment where you're like, all right, this movie has revealed itself to be raw chicken, undercooked chicken.
I like that, raw chicken. So does the rating system just whatever you wanted?
It's whatever. Yeah, I gave it a 25-minute boat chase that could have been 10 minutes. Like whatever you want to.
Well, I'll give my Letterboxd stars. I gave it 3 stars out of 5, so it's like 60%, which it's better. I think what I said exactly was. Let me see if I have it here. It's a Bond movie, so I wasn't expecting a magnum opus, especially when right in the middle of when the series shifted to full camp. We have magic, running on alligators, dangling over sharks, 20-minute speedboat chase. The villain is a great actor, however, and deserves praise. But the one thing that we didn't talk about, which I thought was pretty funny, and I meant to mention that review, was there's a machete fight in this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they have a full-on machete fight, like a sword fight with machetes, which actually was like, I was like, oh shit.
They didn't see. They didn't make it as interesting as they could have. Right? They could have made that like to the point that I forgot about it until you just mentioned it. There is a machete fight. Why wasn't
like
that?
It's like the scene in Mandy where they have a chainsaw fight. Like it just kind of comes out of nowhere, and you're like, what the hell? Like, but it's great. But I don't know. Machete fight's pretty fun. Seeing Bond using machetes interesting. So
like
it's fine.
Princess Bride, the Princess Bride fight where they like him and Inigo Montoya like fight for 5 minutes, but it's worth every second of it. Make the machete fight that. Don't spend 25 minutes on a boat chase. Give me a 5-minute machete fight.
Yeah. Like just watching it as a movie, I'm not excusing any of the problematic bits, but for something that was made at the time period it was made. And if you look at what was happening in cinema around it at the time, it is goofy in a lot of ways, but it does sort of fit into that 70s aesthetic. So I don't know, like 60% is all right. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It was I laughed a lot at ridiculous stuff, and sometimes not when I should have, but I enjoyed it enough to do that. So not something I'd revisit quickly again, but
perfect.
Thank you. You keep track of how many times that happened this episode? I'm curious to know. Got to be at least 100 now.
For anyone playing the home game.
That's right. If it's the drinking game, you've already died. Like you're dead now. You're not listening anymore. Someone's just dead with a bottle of booze, empty beside them.
Oh God.
Well, thank you, Andre. How about you, Noel? What's your Home Alone of it all, and your final thought and your rating?
So every single time I was trying to think of a Home Alone of it all, I realized, no, but that didn't go anywhere. And that also didn't go anywhere. And then the plot showed up, and then they blew. Like I was thinking about when they blew up the poppies, but then they were like, "No, the poppies survived. Don't worry." And like
they're like a resilient. He's like they're a resilient plant.
Oh yeah. How the hell did they survive that?
And like the crocodile thing feels like it's near the end, but then it's not. Yeah. So it's the Home Alone of it all. I don't think this movie has one.
That's fine.
But if I'm going to talk about my favorite part of the movie, it's the Benny Hill airplane chase.
Right. When they're like, one guy comes up to the plane with a machete and he's like, ah, runs away from the plane.
So funny. Yeah. This isn't my least favorite Bond. Like I liked Roger Moore as Bond. I think like he's so aloof and so smooth. It's he's still a cartoon in these, and he's still like the international man of mystery who's like completely like unfazable, right? Like we're not into the realism that they try to do later at all, and not cheesy the way that weirdly it's not cheesy the way that Brosnan is, even though everything else in the movie is cheesy.
Yeah. he seems surprisingly like connected to the cheesiness in a way that like it doesn't make it more cheesy. It's like he's just living in the cheese. He's like, they call me the cheese man.
Yeah.
We're deep in the cheese here.
I feel like there's an intentional amount of camp in it. Like a lot of intentional camp in it and a lot of accidental camp in it as well. Like this is like the campiest, definitely the campiest James Bond. Anyway, I liked it. I think it's in like the bottom of the top half of my James Bond list.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to give it. I'm going to give it from a rating of Sean Connery to Daniel Craig. I'm giving it a Roger Moore.
There is one move that I forgot to mention, which is I think is the Roger Moore move, which is that he comes out and he goes, and then he goes like this.
Yeah.
Like, he looks to the side and like he doesn't quite like take his attention off the thing that he originally looked at, but he knows there's something going on over there.
The old Roger Moore side eye.
Yeah, the side eye. And I think he does that in all of his movies. And he does it, I think, only once hard enough that it resonated with me. And it's in the airport sequence in this movie. Like he does
he's very handsome, but
He is very handsome.
he in some shots, like the makeup on him gets cakey and he starts to look like 20 years older than he did in the previous.
Well, that's because he
shot.
only washes his balls in his butt. We know this. About
Right.
Yeah, he gets the main event and that's it.
Yeah. He gets a chemical peel once a month on the top half and the bottom half he's soaked. Yeah.
Oh
And
man.
he shaves.
Okay.
He shaves
Yeah.
every day, yeah.
My Home Alone of it all was this basically like the introduction of Baron Samedi and basically the Baron Samedi of it all. It's such a different thing for a Bond film from my experience. And I mean that both in my modern viewing of it and also the like remembering it as a kid. I don't remember Baron Samedi being so imposing, but he fucking rules. He was my Home Alone of it all for this whole thing. Once he's introduced, even from when he's just like playing the flute like a weirdo, right up to him like sitting on the back of the train.
What about when he's gay pimp? As you
Gay
said
Pimp?
earlier.
I love Gay Pimp.
I thought he was a different character, but now that I know it's him, even better.
Even better. Very Tim Curry coded.
Who is this gay pimp character?
He's like,
I love your like. I wrote down gay.
Is that
pimp,
Tim
like-
Curry in blackface? Hold on, what's happening here?
Whoa.
Use more Gay Pimp.
Tim Curry would never.
For my final thought, I think this movie rules. It's action from the start to end and captures the spirit of the original Bond films in a unique way that after seeing the Timothy Dalton one, like that feels very much like a new movie esque compared to these ones that feel like Noel said, like old campy, like James Bond vibes. I get why people see Dalton as a huge departure from this style because once tonally they shift it, like I was just saying, it starts to look like a completely different style movie. Roger Moore is an excellent Bond, and again, the problem with Timothy Dalton that shift to that style of Bond movie is we don't get these quips and these comic book one-liner superhero style Bond like visions, you know. I give it a 4 out of 5, which is insane.
That's
And,
insane. You're a madman. You're crazy.
He loves racism. This guy.
He's a big fan of the racism.
If that's what you took from what I'm talking.
Hey, Butterhook, get over here.
We understand what you said.
Hey, Butterhook, get over here. This guy loves the racism.
I had a great time.
Had to actively dissociate out of that in order to.
Yeah.
But it worked. I actively dissociated well.
That does make it better, yeah. If you can just kind of sit back and relax and
yeah, it's like take it as a movie from
Damn
the
fast
70s.
forward button. I will not forgive it for what it's done, but doesn't mean I see you, movie.
I give this movie a stack of tarot cards, and they all say, "Hey, did you see this one?"
Oh, that's amazing! Yeah.
All right. That's your best
We
review,
hit our-
yet, Jason. That's a good review. That's a good
Thank you.
rating. I've never heard a rating out of your mouth that I'm like, that's a good rating.
That
Every
guy
time you do it,
Wow.
I'm like,
This
God.
is episode 172. There's one last thing we have to do. It's going to be real quick. Like I said, longest episode ever, but highest view count ever. 15 people were watching at one point recently. So
Doggo
that's
tiles.
the highest view count we've ever had. We're on a roll. Also, this comment
I
from
will
Lil
claim
Pond.
the blame for that.
It's all you.
I think Andre, you're a draw, but
That's,
we're
that's
gonna
it. Take me in. Put the belt
know
on
what
me,
I'm
man. I'm shooting to the top.
You're
Let's
gonna
go.
get the hey, did you see this one strap, brother?
I'm doing it.
Call you
Um,
Andre the Giant. Anybody want to be
Never heard that before in my life. Thanks. Especially the fact that I'm also a wrestler. So it's like,
Yeah, the future.
and
is
I
old
do
school.
and I do wear a strap, one strap, the singlet. So there's that.
Man, I do have gigantism.
Yes, I do.
Of the lower half only.
I did actually star in The Princess Bride as well.
But now we have to do our plugs. So
All right,
Let me plug
just
that-
plug
yep.
this in right here and.
that's right.
You
We
did.
kill a man each week on the show. We
Wow,
murder a
the
person.
poor man's family is gonna miss him.
Yeah.
It's okay, they didn't like him that much anyway.
Oh,
No,
okay,
they
well, that's good. That's good.
They
he's
keep
dead.
telling us to murder him over and over. It's Baron Samedi keeps bringing him back to life. Andre, what do you have to promote this week?
Check out my podcast, the Graphic Histories Podcast. It's the one where I interview people that do comic nerdy stuff. Episode just dropped with Jason Strutz, who did a bunch of work as an comic artist. I talked to him a lot about Charlie Band because he did some of the Full Moon Picture comics that are based on some of those weird old movies, which is fun. Yeah, just check out that. There's a new episode every week wherever you get your podcasts. And I do a podcast with Davin, who you guys had on the show before. Warned me this show goes long sometimes, and I should have listened. Me and him do X-Rated, the X-Men anime review show, which we initially started out watching the original Fox X-Men cartoon and then moved on to the movies. And once we caught up, and then the new series, and now we're doing X-Men Evolution. So check us out over there doing that.
Awesome. Let's do another round of applause.
And if you live in the Truro area, I do a lot of events in around town. We do vinyl nights, movie nights, board game nights. I host wrestling. We have a show coming up at the end of March. So come see all that stuff. Come watch me wrestle. So watch me in less clothing, grappling other men.
You say less clothing?
I wear a lot of, it's a little tighter clothing, I guess. Never been accused of having of being part of a boner alert before, so I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
Well, thank you, Andre. I'd like to Johnny Carson you and say that you're welcome back here anytime. Thank you for spending your time here. I appreciate that you were warned repeatedly that this show goes long. You are, of course, a part of the United Fisher podcast, and we all know the dirty little secret that, hey, did you see this one is the world's longest podcast? So thank you once again.
Hey, no problem. This is fun. I enjoyed this. There's a lot of laughs.
I still posit that if Jason was to stop mentioning how long the podcast is, it would be at least 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
1 hour was about how long the podcast is.
Jason mentioning it is the equivalent to a 25-minute boat sequence in a Jason podcast.
Well, speaking of short, Noel, do you have anything that you want to plug this week?
My other episodes on this show. Go watch them and click and comment so that they'll have me back on the show. My podcast is dead. This is the only thing I have, and I love these guys.
That's lovely.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. No plugs outside of that.
You'll be back next week. I'll make it so.
Oh, wait, I should have done that. Hold on, say that again, Jason.
I'll have you back next week. I'll make it so.
Nice.
Fantastic. How about you, Steve? What do you got cooking?
Thanks, Tim. And yes,
well,
that
as
was
you
my cat
guys-
meowing.
Yeah. He wants to be on an episode with you guys. Should be on an episode together because you're the.
Have we never been on an episode together?
I don't think so.
I don't
no.
think so.
Oh my god!
I think maybe Cult.
It'll be the the first 10-hour episode.
Yeah. It's a 24-hour episode. Do you dare watch? I am a voice actor. I think some of you guys know that. I am on a couple of channels where I do a lot of narration and character work. Darth Theorist and the Three-Eyed Theorist are my two big ones. But I've been branching out to other things recently, and I'm getting pretty excited. I'm not, again, I said I was going to mention it this week, but I still don't know if I'm actually allowed to talk about it yet. So maybe I'll wait until I know for sure. But I'm on another project for another guest. If you watch the show, you might be able to piece together some other things. It's pretty exciting. Cool. Yeah, other than that, we do have another What If channel that is being dropped, which is like What If Real World Events, which is me just kind of like doing a lot of goofy Trump voices, being like, all right, so you think you can just stop me from taking over Greenland? Is that what you mean? Okay, I'm coming for you now. So it's a lot of that kind of stuff. And my Trump is not great, but I do turn it into my own thing. if you appreciate that kind of work.
I do appreciate this. It's great.
Other than that, yeah, I'm working on stuff, but those are the things that I would appreciate you checking out for now. And I'm gonna keep coming at you with more and more stuff every week.
This is like a threat.
Yeah, or else.
If you don't listen to my fucking voice on the internet, I will find you.
I will find you and I will kill you.
I'll make sure that you understand how good I am at what I do.
You are excellent.
Very, very good. This is the doggo dial. See?
The doggo dial is here.
Bite.
Gator roll.
Doggo Gator roll. Listen, I need to tell you all that on February 28th, next Friday.
On March.
You'll be able to see
in March.
me.
I'll be in the Gulf of America.
Ooh. I'm the announcer for a little wrestling company here in Toronto called Super Kicked Pro Wrestling.
That has yet to book Old School Andre Myatt, by the way. You got to put some ears in out there.
I can probably pull some strings for you, brother.
I might be.
Ears.
I might be up that way sometime soon. It'd be cool to do a show there.
It's a monthly show. We would love to see you. Like we book lots of people.
Oh man, I'd love to come to it. That'd be awesome.
Jason, I'm sure you could pull a lot of things.
That's right.
What's that supposed to mean?
Whose dick do I have to suck at the cookout to make this happen?
All of the dicks. Sorry. Uh-oh. Can I get it? Boner alert.
Boner alert.
The future is old school. I'd also like to let everybody know that you can see this show, Hey Did You See This One, each and every week right here on Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Kick, on Instagram. We go live typically on Thursdays. This week we were on a Wednesday, but I am going to replay this whole episode in its entirety tomorrow night for all of you who did not get to watch it tonight. So please feel free to comment. I don't know if you're listening to it now. Why would you? At any rate, I'd also like
good.
Yes, exactly. I'd like everybody to also know that I put out the on-demand version and the audio version across the weekend after the show goes up, and you can find us on all social media at Hey Did You See This One? And finally, we do have merchandise. You can get all of the images. All of these images were drawn by our very own Stephen M. Waters. The M, of course, stands for Marigold. You can get our regular logo on a shirt. That's a good one. You can get the Grimoire Familiar Killers on a shirt. That's one of our gems in our cap. We got. Wow, you timed that so perfect. You can get Kill Aid on a shirt from.
Oh man, I want that shirt. That's sweet.
You can get it on TeePublic and Redbubble. All links will be on our YouTube.
My day job is graphic designer, so these are amazing. These are
you like them, and you're a graphic designer.
I do. This one's great. That one's excellent.
Well, how about this?
Hook coming soon.
How about this? Twinkerbell. Do you want Twinkerbell on a shirt?
Ooh, I mean, Twinkerbell's appealing in a way that's new and unsettling to me.
Yes, we did it. We finally got it together. You can also get Zardos on a shirt. Zardos is available right now. Our newest shirt, the Howie Mandela Effect, also it's available. You can get a sweater or a hat or a dog mattress. There's a lot of weird things on there. And coming soon, you'll get to get Corporal Tunnel on a shirt. I haven't released it yet, but I will very soon. All of those drawn by Steve Waters. All of the proceeds go to
Also,
keeping.
we got a good
the
list
lights
of
on here.
things to draw tonight, I think. So
Yeah, I made actual physical notes about that.
Autoerotic and automatic, and those are the only. And I mean Penelope Bang Bang. I remember obviously, but
Yeah, the butternuts.
Butterhook. I need Butterhook. merch.
Butterhook. I feel like it should just be the claw just covered in butter, like dripping. Like it should just be like yeah.
And like you need his face laughing. That's like the guy laughs so much.
I know, and he has a good face, but like I do think that just that hook covered in butter is like it gets the point across without any text, you know, which is kind of fun.
Oh, he's like bending the gun, only he's just slicing a stick of butter.
Or he's just bending a stick of butter. He doesn't even cut through it.
Amazing.
I'd also like to plug the future podcast that I'm eventually going to bully Jason into having with me, the Gilmore Girls podcast. It'll never happen. But if anybody out there wants to do a Gilmore Girls podcast with me,
nope.
I desperately need to do that podcast.
It would be interesting as someone like me who knows nothing about Gilmore Girls, never seen an episode in their life. Like just
You need to have one person who knows nothing and one person who knows too much, or else it doesn't work.
I would be the nothing person, that's for sure.
You're not a nothing person. Let's be real. You're a great person.
Don't be down on yourself.
I meant know nothing about the subject matter.
But
thank you guys
so-
for lifting me up. I appreciate it.
So we can all I don't know what that means, but I'd like it. It's provocative.
Gator ball was he? Garibaldi?
Did you say bussy?
Bussy? Stick it in his bussy? What?
Bussy Baldy? Baldy Bussy? What does this even mean?
I don't like this nickname if this is something he's moving for me.
Yeah.
But with that said, there is one last question we have to ask each and every week. And Andre, I prepped you all day for this. So could you please ask that question now?
I thought I was supposed to do the second part. I'm supposed to do the first part.
The whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought I do it all. Okay. It is. Sorry. Do it again. Set me up again. I got it.
There's one last question we have to ask each and every week. And Andre, that question is:
Hey, did you see this one?
Well, that was the world's longest episode.
Yeah, it was fun though.
We've never hit 4 hours. Dun, dun, dun. Yin, dun, dun. Bum, bum. Yin, dun, dun. Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, sorry.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.